Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 826. Yuan Yang is not here. Jin is upset. A night passed, and they were both silent. When Wei Donliu woke up the next day, he sat on the bed in silence. His mood was indescribable. There are not many exercises in this world that require maintaining Yuan Yang to practice, but there are many exercises that can be practiced faster by maintaining Yuan Yang. Unfortunately, the immortal secret method he really relies on, Nine Heavens Pure Land Realm Mantra, is exactly the latter. Without Yuan Yang, it is not that you can't practice, but the efficiency will definitely be discounted. For example, it originally took 1 hour to run a Biggs How routine, but now it takes 1 hour plus 2/3 of a quarter of an hour. What does the decline in efficiency bring? Dopamine. Whenever he thought of this, Wei Dongliu even wanted to strangle Jingmo Envy to death. Of course, he is not Yuan's father after all, so he won't vent his anger on his wife because of such a little frustration. After all, in the final analysis, it was him who had a guilty conscience and refused to consummate the marriage with her first. Besides, the taste of this demon cult woman is indeed unique. Thinking of this, Wei Dongliu no longer had the energy to be angry, and just sighed in his heart and asked Kunlun Mirror, "Did you see it?" "I didn't see it," Kunlun Mirror said lightly. "I didn't see it either," Suming Sword said resentfully. This time it didn't lie. In terms of frontal combat, 100 Kunlun Mirrors are not its opponent. But in terms of scanning, peeping and shielding, 1,000,000 Suming Swords can't match our Jing. This has nothing to do with the great, but the limitations of the magic sword and mirror seal itself, just like no matter how powerful a man is, he can't have a child. Wei Dongliu said no, without joy or sadness, and was about to put on his pants, but a jade arm hugged his waist from behind and pulled him down on the bed again. At noon, Wei Dongliu finally tidied his clothes, got up and left the door, but felt as if his whole body had been drained of strength, and it took him a long time to walk a step. Even though that cultivator is cleansing his marrow to trace his roots, he does not have to worry about the kidney water drying up, but the loss of his essence, energy and spirit is still too great. Isn't it? In the sea of consciousness, Kunlun Mirror and Suming Jian chatted casually. Although that demon didn't hurt him intentionally, what can the great freedom demon know about love? He simply injected bliss and sucked his marrow at the same time. If he continues like this, I think he will be finished sooner or later. Oh, it's okay. Suming Jian didn't care. How could the sword master of my Qin Suming Sword be so fragile? Besides, can't you inject him with spiritual power? He is sleeping with other women over there, and I will inject him with spiritual power and replenish his essence. Kunlun Mirror sneered. What are you talking about? First of all, he is not sleeping with other women, and that demon is one of his legal wives. Suming Jian chuckled. Secondly, if he can't hold on and his foundation is ruined, who will find that fragment of the heaven-fixing stone for you? Kunlun Mirror. If I don't save this scumbag, will I be helpless? She subconsciously said stubbornly. Anyway, I already have my real body now, so I can just go find it myself. Suming Jian did not refute, but just laughed. Kunlun Jing was a little embarrassed. After all, what she said just now was full of loopholes. If she really wanted to restore her body to find that fragment of the Butian stone, she could have left this guy long ago, but why was she reluctant to leave? In the final analysis, Kunlun Jing had to admit that although she often disliked this guy's behavior, his extraordinary flexibility was indeed one of the indispensable qualities in the process of collecting the fragment of the Butian stone. It is not easy to survive in this world of cultivation, and there are too many risks. No matter how high your cultivation level is, there will always be cultivators who are more powerful than you, and then slap you to death with a slab. Only by borrowing people, borrowing strength, borrowing objects, and borrowing momentum, and taking advantage of all the power you can borrow, can you make a name for yourself in this world of cultivation. As for whether it is worth giving up your bottom line for it, that is another matter. Sometimes, Kunlun Jing couldn't help but wonder if he was sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor, using his flexibility to lurk in the sects, gather information, and plot for the fragment of the heaven-fixing stone, while on the other hand, he was standing on the moral high ground and pointing fingers at him, looking down on him. Wasn't that too hypocritical? This kind of self-analysis was undoubtedly extremely painful, but from another perspective, since in this world of cultivation, in order to achieve one's goals, one must give up the moral bottom line to some extent, then why should I set boundaries for myself? I want him to help me get the heaven-fixing stone, but I don't want him to completely give up his moral code, and I also want to help him be a good person. Isn't that okay? That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Using the typical logic of Cheng Yonzhou to convince himself, Kum Linjing was soon relieved. Anyway, I don't like the devil. She continued to argue with Su Mingjian. I won't take the initiative to help him recover his body, just wait and see how he backs me. Su Mingjian continued to laugh in response, and did not refute. Of course, it saw that Kum Linjing's unreasonableness was actually infected by Cheng Yonzhou, but, who cares? It's alright if it's fun to watch. When Wei Dongliu left the camp, he saw a large patch of dark clouds appearing in the south, as if armored heavenly soldiers had descended upon the earth, covering the entire Shu land tightly. There was also a loud sound of thunder, and the mountains collapsed and the ground cracked, which was endless. There was also a yin energy rising into the sky. Although it was very similar to the sword formation of the Wangxai Bangjuexian sword, its purity was too high, just like the difference between the stars and the bright moon. On Tipchen Mountain, the six-path cultivators looked at the direction of Shu Mountain in the south in horror, and talked about it for a while. Oh, it's the Qinshumeng sword that was born. King Ajatasattu suddenly said. Qinshumeng sword? The people on Shu Road were shocked and speechless. If the Qin sword master was born in Shu Mountain, wouldn't our Tipchen Mountain, which is closest to Shu Mountain, be the first to suffer? However, judging from the direction of the sword energy, it seems to be heading for Mount Imei. King Ajatasattu laughed and said, looking at this posture, the golden summit of Imei is afraid of being in trouble. So the surrounding atmosphere immediately changed from solemn and tense to joyful and excited. Could it be that this generation of Qin sword master is the enemy of Shushan? That's great. If the Qin sword master can kill the entire Shushan family, it would be even better. King Ajatasattu turned the atmosphere around with just a few words, but he could hide it from most of the cultivators, but how could he hide it from everyone? Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the Qinshumeng sword was in Shushan as soon as it appeared, and its sword master must be someone from Shushan. Even if the Qin sword master and someone in Shushan have a deep hatred, so that he uses the power of the Qinshumeng sword, how could he possibly kill the entire Shushan family? With the transcendent status of the Qin sword master, wouldn't it be nice to be a small-scale sect guarding immortal? The appearance of the sword master is definitely a disaster rather than a blessing for the Shura path of Tipchen Mountain and even the six paths. I haven't written the extra chapter yet, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Chapter 827. The six-path ceasefire, the leader's mission is complete. The Qin sword master, Shushan, was born. This news quickly spread all over the world. The six sects that received the news also quickly reconvened. Except for the mortal path and the ghost path, the other sects all reached a consensus to withdraw the troops, especially the Shura path, which was the most straightforward. If we don't withdraw the troops, will we wait for the Qin sword master to come to Tipchen Mountain to kill us? Since the Qin sword master slashed Imei with his sword, it means that his relationship with Shushan is not so harmonious. Wen Yang said, whether he is really willing to be the vanguard of Shushan is still unknown. Obviously, although the ghost path did not make a clear statement, it was definitely not inclined to withdraw the troops. If the Qin sword master doesn't come to kill us, Yu Yingguido will continue to plunder and profit from Yunzthong. Xiao, the leader of Donghuangdo, said coldly, if he comes to kill us, Shiradu and Donghuangdo will bear the brunt. Your sect has a good plan. Wen Yang was not angry, but said in a deep voice, the reward for the joint battle has been paid to you in advance, and it is not just my family that will benefit. We have fulfilled our obligations in the agreed joint battle. Ling Yunzhen Ranovti and Modaro said slowly, it's not that we are retreating now, but it's really impossible. Wen Yang listened silently, turned around and asked Wei Dongliu, what does Fan Xingdu mean? The Qin sword master cannot be defeated by force. Wei Dongliu said indifferently. So Wen Yang said nothing more. The meeting came to a temporary end. Wen Yang went back to see Venerable Whitebone and informed him of the attitudes of all parties in detail. Finally, he said, if the Qin sword master can really exert the strength he showed that day, then what we need to discuss is not how to stop the war, but how to preserve the orthodoxy. But now, Shushan has not made any more moves except for propaganda. This means that either the Qin sword master and his men cannot be ordered around at will, or the Qin sword master cannot fully exert the power of the Qinshumeng sword at any time and anywhere. Venerable Whitebone smiled bigly. What Wen Yang said certainly makes sense, but the problem is that in this world, people often don't listen to you just because you are right. except for the Invaluable, which made a lot of money, and the Immortal Duo, which gained a reputation. The enthusiasm of the other three duos to participate was not high. Originally, apart from many other factors, it was mainly to see if there was any bargain to be picked up. As a result, after fighting for so long, they found that it was just so-so. In addition to the news that the Chainsaw Master suddenly appeared, it became a natural thing for them to withdraw. When Yang said that the Chainsaw Master was not a concern, but even if the Chainsaw Master had not appeared, the allies would still find other excuses to cease fire, but they might not be so fast and so unified as they are now. Cease fire. Venerable Whitebone made the decision. So when the second meeting began, when Yang happily announced that the Invaluable supported the ceasefire, and all the parties present were happy. Although the ceasefire had been decided, Kunlun was still at the foot of Tipchin Mountain after all, and of course it could not withdraw directly, otherwise what if the enemy took advantage of the situation to kill them? Wei Dongliu made the decision and said, "It is better to reduce troops and increase battles, and the factions will withdraw in batches and in an orderly manner." The so-called reduction of troops and increase of battles means reducing the number of stationed personnel on the one hand and increasing the number of battles on the other. The latter will give the other party a feeling that the enemy's offensive is getting stronger, and naturally they will not think in the direction of the former. Reducing troops and increasing battles. If you are halfway there, Kunlun suddenly launches a large-scale attack on Tipchin Mountain, what will happen? Asked Venerable Shirudanoya. Kunlun will not. Wei Dongliu said firmly. Why? The foreign monk was stunned. If I'm right, Kunlun must have the intention to retreat. Wei Dongliu is confident. Shushan has produced the Chainsaw Master, how can Kunlun not be worried? Everyone laughed. Being both a strategic ally and a competitor, who can be more proficient than the Six Paths? Just the matter of how to secretly weaken an ally and make the other party unable to attack. Everyone present has 10,000 ways to achieve the goal, but Kunlun is not good at this. Shushan has produced the Chainsaw Master, Kunlun must be really worried. When Yang also echoed and laughed, if it is not handled properly, the leader of the orthodox religion will fall into his hands. A master of the Shirudao suddenly had an idea, since Kunlun is also afraid of Shushan, can we join forces with Kunlun to fight Shushan together? The laughter stopped immediately, and everyone looked at the foreign monk elder with an idiotic look. Ahem. The other party also realized that he was daydreaming, and hurriedly said, I mean secretly. Secretly is impossible. Not to mention the hidden dangers to reputation, nor how noble Kunlun is, just from the perspective of strength, the strength of the Six Paths Alliance is not yet enough to make Kunlun consider an alliance. If the Six Paths really become one, Kunlun might really consider it. However, everyone knows that the Six Paths are only united in interests, and do not mean that they are in step with each other in diplomacy. The so-called cooperation with the Six Paths Alliance is actually to negotiate with each family separately. It is not worth it in terms of cost performance, let alone for Kunlun. In short, Wei Dongliu seemed not to hear what the other party said, and said calmly, Kunlun will not stay in Tipchin Mountain for too long, and you can arrange to return to the sect. However, after returning, please ask all allies to lie dormant for the time being and try to avoid high-profile behavior. He finished speaking slowly, and saw that some of the people present had gloomy faces, some were calm, and some did not take it seriously. Those who know naturally know that Wei Dongliu is reminding everyone that although Kunlun has withdrawn its troops head-on, there will definitely be several more waves of clearing operations that will hit Wanglong in succession, and the purpose is naturally to vent anger. Although everyone has rich experience in avoiding fighting, if a large number of people are killed by accident, it will definitely be a great loss of vitality. Of course, not all the participants can guess what Wei Dongliu means. Some people who don't know think that you, the great leader Wei, are just the leader in this war. Now that the ceasefire has been confirmed, your leader has expired and is invalid. Do you still want to give us orders? I won't listen. Wei Dongliu had a blank expression on his face. He wrote down these young people who showed resentment, contempt, and disdain one by one, and finally said, then, everyone go back and withdraw your troops. The meeting ended, and there were still a lot of things to arrange later, so everyone went back. The leader Wei has been radiant recently. When Yang came over to chat with Jingmona when he saw that Jingmona was not there. Really? Wei Dongliu wanted to cry but couldn't. She looked radiant. Maybe it was her last moments. If I keep doing this every night, maybe I'll really be killed by her. No, I have to think of a way. Wei Dongliu was thinking this when he suddenly felt something vibrating around his waist. It was the communication magic weapon that Taoist Luo from the Hell Dodo had given him. Chapter 828. Mother's Help. Master Wei, you have done an excellent job, far exceeding the sect's original expectations of you. Now that the war is over, please go to the Mountain God Temple in time and return to the sect's residence to receive your reward. In Mount Watai, Wei Dongliu calmly read the message from the Hell Road, then stood up and said to Jianglin, I'm going out for a while. If there is anything in the sect later, you will be fully responsible. Where is your husband going? Jianglin asked hurriedly. This great freedom heavenly demon, no, this newlywed young woman is very eager for it. She wishes she could stick to her husband for 12 hours a day. How could she bear to let her husband go away? There is an important matter to do. Wei Dongliu said concisely. Seeing that he was unwilling to say what it was, which Jiang changed direction and tried to probe in a roundabout way. How long would it take? I can't say for sure. Wei Dongliu replied, it could be as short as a day and a half, or as long as 2 or 3 months. It's all possible. When Witch Jiang heard that it would take a month, she immediately felt a little upset, but the great freedom demon was the most hypocritical, and there was no reason for him to say what he thought in his heart, so she just smiled and said tactfully, so that's how it is. My husband, you can go without worry, and I will take care of the sect's affairs. As soon as Wei Dongliu left, Witch Jiang suddenly became ferocious and called her 2 sisters who were hiding nearby, and said viciously, is there any urgent matter to be done in this mortal Do sect? Sister Lihin was still a little confused, but Lichu was better at observing words and expressions, and hurriedly said, what else could it be? It's nothing more than people who want skills, seek resources, come to ask for instructions, want to transfer to another position, ask for errands, make connections, and get to know each other. There is no need for sister to come forward, we can just do it casually. Very good. Jiang Mo Envy said coldly, then the things here are handed over to you. If there is any mistake, watch out for your skin. After that, the big demon rode on the black cloud and left quickly. Lichu and Lihin looked at each other in silence. My brother-in-law is obviously the head of the mortal life too, but he is very impatient with all kinds of mundane things and insists on pushing them to my sister. My sister flatters my brother-in-law, but she exploits us in various ways, pushing things down layer by layer, and in the end, the couple went to live happily, while we are here toiling hard. Let's not talk about how the 2 big demons complained. But Jiang the witch followed Wei Dongliu all the way, thinking that she had not been discovered, but unexpectedly, Kunlun Mirror secretly reminded her, your wife is chasing after us. Wei Dongliu was immediately startled and quickly asked back, my wife? Which wife? Kunlun Mirror was also shocked by his question, and it took a long time to react. It turned out that he had not made it clear. He quickly corrected and said, Jianglin, she is following you. Oh. Wei Dongliu hurriedly accelerated. However, when he accelerated, Jiang the witch also accelerated. The 2 of them seemed to be racing, one in front and one behind, and the distance was always very close, and they could not get rid of each other at all. Wei Dongliu was helpless, knowing that the cultivation level of his witch wife was far better than his own, and it was impossible to widen the gap. But fortunately, to reach the depths of hell from here, you need to pass through a mountain temple. There is a space teleportation array in the temple, and the switch is controlled on the side of the Hell Road. Even if the lady chased me into the mountain temple, she couldn't pass the space teleportation array, and she would still be left behind by me later, right? Wonderful. Speaking of this long-distance teleportation array, I have to study it carefully. It will be very convenient to use it to avoid the pursuit of relatives, friends and enemies in the future. Wei Dongliu quickly rushed to Watai Mountain Market, came to the previous mountain temple, and then went in. He skillfully turned behind the statue and then disappeared. Jianglin came and followed him into the mountain temple, but she couldn't find Wei Dongliu at all. She searched the temple inside and outside the temple, and finally found some words behind the statue, which was the entrance to the array. However, this entrance to the array was designed. People with authority came and took a look, and were immediately transferred away. People without authority could not find the coordinates of the opposite side even if they stood here and used space magic weapons such as Tianxianshu to break the space. When Wei Dongliu first entered the hell, before finding the mountain temple here, he was intercepted by a fortune teller on the road, just to intercept his breath and give him the corresponding authority. Now where can Jianglin find this authority? She could only use all the methods of the great freedom demon, but it didn't work at all. She was so angry that she kicked the statue to the ground. Otherwise, stay here and wait for her husband to come out. Jianglin subconsciously wanted to wait and see, But then she thought, if her husband was having fun with other women inside, and I, the main wife, was waiting outside, how aggrieved would that be? No. How could I, a great freedom demon, endure such humiliation? Jiangli gritted his teeth fiercely, and turned into black mist and soared into the sky. The sky above the cultivation world is a hemisphere from the outside, and the core is located in the center of the sky, which is the place where Niue repaired the sky in the past. The sky repairing stone inlaid in it has always provided a continuous source of energy support for the sky barrier, but the colorful brilliance on it has dimmed a lot recently. The farther away from the location of the sky repairing stone, the weaker the space barrier is, but no matter how weak it is, it will not be broken through by the demon. In recent years, if the demons from outer space want to go to the lower world, they have to look for the loopholes that were born by chance. Since the energy of the magic array of the sky barrier comes from the output of the sky repairing stone, and the output cannot be stable for a long time, there will always be loopholes in some places. Although it is only a flash, it is enough for a single demon to seize the opportunity and quickly pass through the lower world. Jiangli is now a master of magic. She no longer needs to wander around outside the sky barrier like those low-level demons, trying their luck like a beggar asking for food. She activated her magic power and then rammed into the sky barrier fiercely. Once, twice, 3 times, until she was dizzy and dazzled, and finally a crack appeared on the sky barrier. Jiangli instantly turned into a ball of black mist, passed through the crack of the sky, and came to the outer world. When she came to the outer world, she no longer needed to maintain the appearance of a pretty young woman. She simply revealed her true black mist body, soared up, and went straight to the 6th floor of the Zizahir Heaven, the magic palace of the great Zizahir Demon King. The great free Demon King has been missing for many years. Rumor has it that he was refined into the sky repairing stone by Niue, but Jiangli knew that was not the case. He simply ran away and no one knew where he had gone. Without the Demon King, the witch princesses reveled in the Demon Palace. After tens of thousands of years, no one was in the mood to play anymore, so everyone found a place to stay. When Jiangli returned to the Demon Palace, hundreds of gazes were cast at her immediately. She only heard her shouting, "Look at the entrance of the space to identify the coordinates. Come here if you know how. Get out if you don't know how." Almost instantly, more than 400 black mists poured out from various palaces, surrounding Jiangli, and shouted in unison, "I know how, I know how." Chapter 829 Blocking the door. Seeing the sisters rushing out, vying for the first place, Jiangli was not happy but angry. "I am here to find someone who can read spatial coordinates, not to start a tour group. Why are you all here to bother me? There is no need for so many people," she said impatiently. "Just a few people who can read coordinates will be enough. Why does Sisterin need people who can read coordinates?" The witch laughed. "If you want to pass through the barrier to the lower world, just find the occasional loopholes, right? None of your business." Jiangli said nothing and continued to see the demons. "Is there anyone?" Although she kept her mouth shut, the witch sisters were so smart that they immediately realized that there must be a mystery in it. "If there is no mystery, why can't you just say it clearly?" I can. So the voices of many people rang again, and the scene was in chaos. "You know shit." Jiangli was immediately furious. "Let's not talk about others first. When did you learn to read coordinates?" The witch Wen, who was named, said stubbornly, "Why, I just learned it recently. Isn't it okay? How dare you, a person with poor sense of direction, say that?" Jiangli laughed at her. "Who was it last time who was desperate in the East China Sea in the lower world and begged me to give her a ride? A stupid thing who even gets lost in the Demon Palace." Wen was so angry at her scolding, and with the sisters laughing in derision, she immediately shrank back quietly. Jiangli looked around and cursed again. "A bunch of lazy idiots. I really don't know why I am a sister to you. After millions of years of practice, even a pig can cultivate great magical powers. Only idiots can't even figure out a space coordinate. Sister Anne, you can't blame us for this." The witch defended. "Although we, the great freedom heavenly demons, have infinite lifespans and come and go without a trace, those are all innate endowments. Who would work hard to study innate endowments? Even if you say it's a space secret technique, if you want to go somewhere, we can send you there through mountains of swords and seas of fire, but you said to read coordinates. How can we do that? Those who don't know, get out." Jiangli said angrily. So the witches dispersed with curses, and only 2 sisters stayed. One of the 2 sisters was called Ale and the other was called Ain, and they were both familiar with Jiangli. Seeing which, Jing looking over, Ayla said, Ayan has recently learned a secret method that allows her to sense subtle traces in space, and I have done some research on spatial coordinates, but I don't know what you want to do with spatial coordinates, Sister Anne. Well, you guys come with me first. Jing Lian thought to himself that there were only two of them, and they were just tools anyway, so he turned into black mist and left the demon palace. Ayla and Ayan followed, and the three great demons quickly descended to the lower world, only to hear Ayan suddenly say, "They are all following behind." "Well, I know," Jing Lian said coldly. Those great demon sisters had pretended to scatter in a hurry, but they hid themselves and followed quietly behind. After all, the witch was so thirsty for emotional food that she would never miss any fun. Wei Dongliu was not afraid of Jing Lian following him, so how could Jing Lian worry about these little tales? She took Ayla and Ayan sisters straight down to the sixth heaven, and came to the barrier of the sky, and used the iron head magic to create a crack. The three demons quickly passed through the barrier and then quickly fled to the lower world. The witches behind them rushed over, but the crack was only fleeting. How could they still see it now? Naturally, they were unwilling to give up, so they wandered around again, trying their luck to find a naturally formed crack. As a result, after searching for half an hour, they finally found a way through, but they had long lost the trace of Jing Lian and others. They were so angry that they shouted and rushed to a nearby island, devoured all the people and animals on it, and then returned to the upper world. Jing Lian entered the cultivation world from the East China Sea, and then traveled all the way west to Shenzhou, and came to a mountain temple in Mount Watai, and took the two sisters Ayla and Ayan behind the statue. "What a wonderful coordinate design," Ayla commented. "The frequency contained inside it changes every 3¼ hours. The spatial fluctuations on the user's body must be completely consistent with the coordinate frequency in order to resonate and transmit." Blah blah blah. Jing Lian said, "Is this what I want to hear? I want to hear the solution." "There are two ways," Ayla said. "The first is to guard here. As long as someone tries to teleport through here, the spatial fluctuations on his body will inevitably match the required coordinate frequency. At the time, we just need to catch him and we can decipher the correct coordinate frequency." Seeing Jing Lian's unfriendly expression, she hurriedly explained, "For example, this is a door lock. We don't have the key, but the person who can get through here must have the key. Just catch him." "Got it," Jing Lian said impatiently. "What about the second way?" "Brute force cracking," Ayan said. "I can't say when it will be cracked. It all depends on luck." Two-pronged approach. Jing Lian waved his hand, with a leadership style that was quite like Wei Dongliu directing the country. "You guys first brute force crack it, and then I'll wait here to see if anyone passes by." So the great freedom heavenly demons began to tinker with the space. On the other side, Wei Dongliu arrived at the depths of hell, breathing the scorching air full of sulfur, feeling quite comfortable as if he had not felt it for a long time. His chaotic demon body was naturally very adaptable and liked this hell environment full of chaotic breath, but hell was not suitable for most human beings to survive after all, so the hell would think of using the fragments of the sky repairing stone to create a paradise in the depths of hell, right? Such a move was obviously much more forward-looking than the thinking of the three pure ones of the Orthodox Church who used the fragments to protect the sect's residents. Of course, it was also much more difficult. Walking into the city gate, I don't know what magical power Taoist Luo used. The demon guarding the gate was not surprised by Wei Dongliu with red hair and heavy pupils. Although his eyes were rolling around him, he did not stop him to ask anything. When Wei Dongliu stepped into the city, he saw dilapidated houses on both sides of the street, and faint roars came from inside. Most of the people living in this city are demons, and the environment is so bad that the demons are naturally extremely cruel, and kind people can't survive at all. When he came to the mansion of the Hell Road, Wei Dongliu covered his figure with black fog. Just as he was about to step in, he suddenly heard someone next to him say, "Everyone in the Six Paths knows about the Great Leaderway. Even though you and I have different tasks and are usually far apart, I can also hear the name of the Leaderway. Why should you hide it now? When in Rome, do as the omens do." Wei Dongliu smiled faintly. Chapter 830 Artificial Fairyland. Wei Dongliu carefully looked at the person who came, and saw that the other party also used magic to cover his body, revealing only a vague and hazy outline. "It's interesting. On the one hand, he said that I don't need to cover up, and on the other hand, he disguised himself tightly. Don't you think you are double standard?" Thinking of this, Wei Dongliu tried to scan the other party, but found that the other party's real body was not here at all. The person in front of him was just a projection. Fellow Daoist Wei, don't worry too much. The other party continued to say with a smile, what I said just now is just a greeting. I have admired fellow Daoist Wei's style for a long time, but unfortunately I have a mission and can't go back to the station to admire it in person. Next time we must take time to get together. Okay. Wei Dongliu responded, thinking that if it was a woman, it would be okay to admire something, but if it was a grown man, he kept saying admiring style, then he really declined. He chatted with the other party for a few words, and then stepped into the mansion. As soon as he entered the hall, Taoist Master Luo came out to greet him and said enthusiastically, "Fellow Daoist Wei, you have had a hard time on this trip." Sure enough, it was an extremely correct decision to let fellow Daoist Wei join our Hell Road. Wei Dongliu was so perceptive that he immediately asked, "So some people didn't want me to join the Hell Road?" Taoist Master Luo laughed and said, "For so many years, we have always been dormant in the depths of hell and have not come out, just for the sake of confidentiality. Because of this, every time we accept new members to join, there will be a risk of leaks, so everyone has a lot of concerns in this regard." Wei Dongliu thought for a moment, nodded and said, "I see, so most of the time, the sect trains newcomers from scratch, so there is no risk of confidentiality." Yes, fellow Daoist Wei is really careful. Taoist Master Luo admitted, currently, most of the cultivators in our sect are led into the sect by the Hell Road cultivators when they are in the mortal stage. Of course, before entering the sect, a series of qualities such as wisdom, skills, and courage need to be examined. If someone is not suitable for taking on a big responsibility, no matter how good his talent in cultivation is, the sect will not accept him as a disciple. It is actually quite rare to find someone like Wei Doi who originally cultivated and even formed a pill elsewhere and then joined the Hell Path, and most of them are independent cultivators. If they are from the Orthodox Church or the Six Paths, and have a master, then our sect will never accept them. Wei Dongliu listened silently, thinking that most of the disciples are trained from scratch. This Hell Path is too cautious. In this way, although the loyalty of the cultivators in the sect is guaranteed, they will inevitably stick together and be extremely xenophobic. No wonder my entry task is to become the leader of the Six Paths. Seeing that Taoist Luo was ready to tell him everything he knew, Wei Dongliu simply confessed all his doubts and asked, "I have a question. What is the significance of becoming the co-master of the Six Paths to the sect?" "That's a long story." Taoist Luo said slowly, "Wei, do you still remember that the mission of establishing our Hell Path is to continue the existence of the Jirijiao sect as much as possible? In order to create a paradise in hell, we need to seal the chaos channel, which requires the sky repairing stone left over from that formidable stone. However, the sky repairing stone was broken into pieces and its whereabouts are now unknown. We guessed through some intelligence that the three pure ones of the Orthodox Church may have fragments of the sky repairing stone, so in order to seize these fragments, we have to make chaos in this world. The three pure ones of the Orthodox Church are huge monsters, and it is difficult for ordinary forces to shake them. If there is no strength that can threaten the Orthodox Church, then the situation will become stagnant, and we will not be able to fish in troubled waters. Therefore, we need the Six Paths to unite and become chess pieces that can fight against the three pure ones." Taoist Luo said a lot, which was basically the same as what he said last time, but he never mentioned the key point. Does this make Wei Dongliu the co-lord of the Six Paths, so he can get the fragment of the sky-making stone? It's like someone saying that in order to get into a prestigious university, you need to go to a cram school now. Although it seems logical, the problem is that there are millions of children who go to cram schools, if not tens of millions. How many of them can finally get what they want? Wei Dongliu sneered in his heart, guessing that it must not be as simple as becoming the co-lord of the Six Paths and then fighting against the three pure ones. This hell must have a very secret plan, which must be launched with the chess piece of the co-lord of the Six Paths to bring great harm to the three pure ones. And this harm must be directed at the fragment of the sky-making stone in the hands of the immortals of the three pure ones. Thinking of this, Wei Dongliu was also a little warm. I opened 3 small accounts in 3 sects and lurked diligently until now. Isn't it just to wait for such a day? Since the Elder also wants to get the fragment of the heaven repairing stone, then I can cooperate sincerely with this headmaster for mutual benefit and win-win results. He is responsible for messing up the 3 major sects, and I am responsible for taking treasures in the chaos with a trumpet. How great is that? Seeing that Wei Dongliu stopped talking, Taoist Luo also stopped talking at the right time, and said, "Wei, now is not the time for the Elder sect meeting. The reason why I called you here alone is to take you to see something." "Thank you, Headmaster," for leading the way. Wei Dongliu said hurriedly. Taoist Luo led Wei Dongliu into the hall, and then went down all the way, and soon entered a corridor. The deeper he went, the more Wei Dongliu keenly noticed that the innate burning breath of the hell around him was gradually fading, and it was replaced by a familiar breath. Is this immortal energy? Wei Dongliu suddenly realized that the faint breath around him was actually about 50% to 60% similar to the immortal essence cultivated by the Nine Heavens King Wei realm mantra. The depths of this hell have collected most of the Inki accumulated since Pangu created the world. Taoist Luo said calmly, and because it is close to the chaos, the rules are too chaotic, so the Inki is turbid and filthy. But if the chaos channel is sealed in a small area with a secret method, the influence of chaos on the rules here can be curbed. In the long run, the Inki will be deturbed and sublimated into the innate Inki. Fuck. Hearing this, Qin's human sword couldn't help but swear. What's wrong, Sumin? Wei Dongliu asked hurriedly. This guy is a bit ambitious. Qin's human sword explained, he is not just trying to transform the depths of hell into an environment suitable for human habitation. If I'm not mistaken, the real purpose behind this person is to build an artificial fairyland. Wei Dongliu stood in awe. Although he didn't know what artificial fairyland was, it sounded very powerful. Taoist Luo was completely unaware and continued, with this innate Qi, we won't have to worry about being polluted by turbid Qi when practicing various magic skills in the future, and we will get twice the result with half the effort. Doorway, you have a chaos demon body. This time, the sect will give you a reward of practicing in this extremely in place for 1 hour. Chapter 831 Installment Payment, Bullshit innate Qi. Sumin Jin complained, after being polluted and purified again, it has long lost its innate rank. At best, it can only be regarded as acquired Qi. But, its voice paused subtly, for you, it is indeed a rare benefit. Oh? Wei Dongliu asked in surprise, I would like to hear more about it. If calculated according to the rank and purity, the lowest rank must be turbid air. Sumin Jin replied, when turbid air is refined, it becomes demonic energy. When it is compressed and condensed, it becomes demonic essence. Going further up, there are Shaoyin, Shangjian and so on. Qin is the highest rank and purest Jinki among them. Do you think it will be of any use to you? In that case, it is indeed useful. Wei Dongliu thought that this Jinki and demonic energy came from the same source, but the rank and purity were much higher. He thought that it would surely be of endless use to his chaotic demon body. It's not only useful to you, but also to me. Sumin Jin said leisurely, I'll show you later, and find that place with the highest Jinki content in this area. Taoist Luo said a few more nonsense words, and then quietly left. As soon as he left, Sumin Jin immediately said, keep going. Go left, hurry up. Go further, hey, we've gone too far. Can't you explain it more clearly? Wei Dongliu couldn't bear it anymore, a Jin, teach it what it means to report coordinates. Kunlun Mirror was helpless and could only mutter a few words to Sumin Jin, and then displayed the distribution of Qi round. After all, Wei Dongliu was used to scanning, and this method couldn't be more familiar. He walked left and right along the route, and finally walked to the place where Qi was the most concentrated. As soon as he sat in meditation and breathed in, he immediately knew that this Qi was extraordinary. If ordinary demonic energy and magic essence are compared to mints or chewing gum, then this Qin energy is frosting, industrial saccharin, and is 1,000 times thicker than ordinary demonic energy and magic essence. Breathing in and out Qin energy is like drinking sweet rain and cold dew in summer, which makes Wei Dongliu feel very comfortable. He simply uses the chaos demon body to operate at full power. His red hair becomes redder, his double pupils become deeper, and he swallows and sightens the surrounding Qin energy, and his cultivation is also advancing rapidly. Don't be too anxious, leave some for me. Seeing that he was eating so ugly, Qin's human sword didn't care about much and hurriedly began to absorb the surrounding Qin energy. I don't know how long it took. Wei Dongliu suddenly woke up from his meditation, and only heard a sound of arrows outside, but an hour had already passed. He quickly introspected and checked his cultivation, only to find that the danton in his stomach was empty. The golden elixir is gone. Of course, this golden elixir did not disappear for no reason, but it had been refined and dispersed in the inner sea and no longer formed. Now, although there is no golden elixir in Wei Dongliu's danton, it is dark, but there are some faint lights in the dark, like stars in the night, which is the subtle level. Next, as long as he can successfully survive the heavenly tribulation, he can gather all the scattered energy again and form a union that can hold a soul. Considering Wei Dongliu's first-grade golden elixir, the difficulty of this infant-forming heavenly tribulation is probably far greater than the difficulty of practicing the entire golden elixir realm. Thinking of the situation of the last golden elixir tribulation, Wei Dongliu decided to find a treasure land and prepare many magic tools and resources. Only when everything is ready can he start to try the risk. Before that, let's take it slowly. How is the cultivation of fellow Taoist Wei? Seeing Wei Dongliu's restrained divine light and abundant treasures, Taoist Luo, who came in from outside, immediately knew that his cultivation had improved a lot, and congratulated him. It seems that there is another breakthrough, which is gratifying. Thank you for the gift, Master. Wei Dongliu said with a bow. You're welcome. Taoist Luo waved his hand and said with a smile, since your skills have improved greatly, then next, the sect has an urgent task for you to do. Wei Dongliu. I knew it would be like this. The Qin Sword Master of Shushan suddenly appeared. Taoist Luo said seriously, 2 veterans of our sect fell at the hands of the Qin Sword Master. However, the Qin Sword Master has a low level of cultivation and cannot exert the full power of the Qin's human sword. Therefore, the Shanking sect of Shushan is looking for a rare item called the Yunweng Sword Box. Your mission is to lead the 6 elites to prevent Shushan from getting the Yunweng Sword Box. What is this sword box? Why haven't I heard of it? Wei Dongliu secretly became suspicious and asked curiously, what is the origin of this Yunweng Sword Box? Why did Shushan personally mobilize a large number of troops to find it? I don't know either. Taoist Luo shook his head. It is said that this sword box can be injected with true essence in advance, so when flying the sword box true essence can be consumed first, without consuming the sword master's own true essence. Wei Dongliu was stunned at first, and then quickly reacted. Why is the Qin's human sword not easy to use? The reason is that it consumes too much energy to activate it, and it cannot be sustained without the immortal level. But if there is this Yunweng sword box, every time you can ask the immortal to inject enough immortal level true essence into it, so can't you use it at will? Well, Immortal Changmea, you humiliated me too much in the past, now I want you to be my gas station to atone for your sins. Seeing Wei Dongliu frowning, Taoist Luo thought he also knew the pros and cons, so he continued to sigh and said, if the Qin Sword Master gets this sword box, it will be more than just a tiger with wings. But if you want to compete with Shushan, you must work together with the 6 Weis. Since you are the co-master of the 6 Weis, you should summon the 6 Weis to fight against Shushan. Yes. Wei Dongliu nodded slightly and agreed. Apart from anything else, even if Taoist Luo didn't give me this news, I would stop Shushan from getting the Yunweng sword box. Why? Because once Lin Yunpo has the ability to use the Qin's human sword infinitely, will Shushan let him sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor? Definitely not. And if Ling Yunpo shows his power outside, it will inevitably further undermine Qiu Chain Time's prestige. In short, Ling Yunpo must not get this Yunweng sword box openly. Of course, it is okay to get it in an unopened and above-board way, but use it privately. For example, if I, Wei Dongliu, encounter a strong enemy and cannot defeat him, I will take out the Qin Sumin sword. Since I have taken out the Qin Sumin sword, it is normal to take out the Yunweng sword box, right? As for charging, no immortal can be allowed to charge it, otherwise it would be equivalent to actively exposing the existence of the Yunweng sword box. But I could let a Jin charge it. Is there a possibility that there is actually no difference between you asking me to help you charge the sword box and me directly providing energy for you to use the Sumin sword? Kumlin Jin asked helplessly. Not entirely. Wei Dongliu explained, the latter is a direct purchase in full, while the former is paid in installments. Can the two be the same for you? Oh, I forgot that you, a Jin, are a rich woman in terms of spiritual energy reserves. It is indeed better to provide me with spiritual power directly. Get lost. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 832. Jingli secretly took in 2 younger sisters. Regarding the Yunweng sword box, although Wei Dongliu did not need it, he wanted to prevent Shushan from obtaining it. The strange thing is that the reason why Shushan searched for this item was for the Qin Sword Master Ling Yunpo, so this spy mask has been worn many times, and it is really difficult to tell the truth and falsehood, the interests and entanglements. In short, after receiving the new mission of the Hell Road, Wei Dongliu planned to return to Mount Watai. Just as he was about to return by the original route, he was suddenly stopped by Taoist Luo. "Doorway, please wait." The head of the Hell Road said with a smile, "The teleportation formation is under maintenance. It is not convenient to pass through for the time being. Please follow me to another place." "Wait, Liu. What do you mean?" "The teleportation formation is broken." He quickly guessed that it was probably someone from the mountain temple who was not convenient for him to meet, so he asked him to go to another place. He was taken to another formation outside the city by Taoist Luo. After being teleported, Wei Dongliu appeared at the bottom of the deep sea. He quickly broke out of the water, and after a brief look around, he was sure that he should be in the South China Sea. It is said that a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. There is no telling how many escape routes this hell has. No wonder it has been elusive for so many years and has not been discovered by the Orthodox Church. After carefully studying the formation for a while, Wei Dongliu was able to confirm that this should be some kind of extremely obscure ancient formation, and its arrangement style is already very different from the current formation. Even the ancient formation taught by the Yu King Temple, which is notoriously obscure and difficult to understand, is child's play compared to this formation. Unable to understand it thoroughly for a while, Wei Dongliu patiently wrote it down, and then headed north all the way, flying towards Mount Watai. However, at the mountain temple of Mount Watai, the 2 sisters Yin and Ayla failed to wait for someone to come, but the more lucky brute force cracking was the first to produce results. "Got it," Ayla said. "I know the coordinates, either leading to the 9 nether yellow springs or to the depths of hell." "So what?" Jiangli frowned. "So it's long-distance transmission." Yin knew the temper of this and sister, so she quickly explained, "Long-distance transmission has a higher probability of problems than ordinary transmission arrays, so there will be some verification methods. Although the other party has adopted a random change strategy in the passage coordinates, the verification cannot be done in this way, otherwise it will affect stability and security. So, starting from the verification, we can locate." "Shut up." Jiangli finally collapsed. "Don't say a word of nonsense to me before it's completely done." So Yin and Ayla hurriedly shut up and worked. After about half an hour, Ayla finally exclaimed, "Found it, it's in the 9 nether yellow springs. Transport immediately." Jiangli waved his hand, and then quickly reacted, "Wait, teleport me over, and then you can get out. If I really let these 2 sisters go with me, and see that I have mobilized so many troops to find a human husband, then wouldn't the confidentiality work be in vain?" Yin and Ayla looked at each other for a moment, thinking that there is indeed something fishy. "The more you don't show us, the more we want to see." Ayla nodded immediately and said, "Okay, wait for me to analyze the teleportation array." Jiangli saw that she agreed so readily without any shameless entanglement, and immediately became suspicious. "Oh, you want to wait for me to teleport over, and then do something to follow me, right?" Ayan also reacted quickly, knowing that her sister's silence was the biggest flaw, and hurriedly made amends and said, "That being said, don't we sisters know what Sisterin is going to do? Otherwise, we have tried so hard, but in the end we are kept in the dark. How can we help Sisterin next time?" Jianglian sneered and said, "It's okay to tell you, but you can't tell other sisters." Ayla waited for a moment, but didn't wait for the second half of the sentence. Seeing Jianglian's mocking face, she finally understood. She thought that if she told us, we would tell others. "If Sisterin tells me, I promise not to leak it." Ayla swore immediately. Jianglian laughed loudly. "We are all demons, who wants to deceive whom? Do demons have any credibility?" Yin and Ai were speechless. Although they didn't want to say it, the great three demons were indeed a group of creatures without moral integrity, and as for credibility, let alone, they had no pressure at all to swear to each other's faces and then sell out the other party. The only thing they could trust was the deterrence based on overwhelming strength. For example, the reason why Jianglian could trust Li Chu and Lihin was because he was stronger than his two sisters. "If you dare to betray me, I will beat you to death 100 times 1,000 times. As long as everyone understands this, the sisterhood will be deep and indestructible." Yin and Ai were silent for a long time, and only heard Jianglian say, "If you two are willing to be my sisters, this matter is not a big deal anyway, and it's okay to share it with you. Sisterin trusts us, of course it's good." Yin said, "But is it too arrogant to fight one against two? The implication is that it doesn't count if you beat us in a single fight, you must defeat both of us at the same time. Go to heaven." Jianglian said concisely. The three demons turned into black mist, soared up to the 9th heaven, and then started fighting. In less than half a minute, Yin and Yu were defeated, and both of them looked incredible. How can Sister Anne's magic skills be so profound? Yin said with a flattering smile, with this strength, let alone as sisters, she is more than enough to be the eldest sister of 500 sisters. Huh. Jiangling sneered, if you don't have some real skills, how dare you bring you here? Yin and Yu were both convinced. After taking the two demons as her sisters, Jiangling told them the truth. I came here this time because your male pet was lost, so I want to find him. Male pet? The two sisters' eyes lit up immediately. For the great free demon, food is as much as you want, as long as you go to the lower world, you can always find it. But male pets are really rare things. To put it bluntly, it's just like food. The two demons looked at each other for a moment, wisely did not complain, but praised in unison. You can actually raise male pets, you are really worthy at being Sister Anne. Stop talking nonsense, take me there quickly. Jiangling said impatiently. The three demons returned to the mountain temple, and Ayla started the formation. Jiangling was the first to step into it, not caring about the trick. With her current status, let alone killing her, there are very few things in the world that can trap her. Yin and Yu followed closely behind, keeping their eyes on their noses and their noses on their hearts, acting cautiously and trying to suppress their desire to gossip. As the world spun, the three of them appeared on the vast sea. Jiangli looked carefully and almost fainted. This place was not the east of the East China Sea, but the marginal ocean 108,000 miles away from Shenzhou. Where else could it be? Chapter 833. Leader Wei summons the heroes again. Wei Dongliu returned to Mount Watai, but found that Madame Jing was not there, and frowned slightly. This wife, didn't she say that she would handle the affairs of the sect for me? Why did she run away again? However, the two sisters, De Chu and Le Hen, saw that their brother-in-law suddenly returned alone, but their sister was nowhere to be seen. They were frightened and hid in a hurry. You know, during the time when the couple was away, it was Le Chu who disguised herself as Jiangling to handle affairs in the sect. She was naturally not afraid of others, but what should she do if her brother-in-law came back and wanted to be intimate with her sister? As a great free demon, although he regarded humans as livestock and poultry, Wei Dongliu had the blood of the demon king after all, and he was also a brother-in-law, so it was naturally different. In normal times, it would not matter if they were intimate, after all, acting had to be played in full, right? But the two sisters were very familiar with the demon girl Jiang, and knew that she was indeed a good sister with strong strength, but she was occasionally possessive, controlling, violent, and merciless, etc. And had some small character flaws. If she knew about this, she would not care about your acting needs and would just catch and kill you without any scruples. Therefore, the two sisters quickly removed their disguises and disappeared to avoid being discovered by their brother-in-law. Wei Dongliu could not find Jiangling, so he could only handle the affairs of the sect by himself and think about how to complete the new tasks assigned by the Hell Road. Looking at the cooperation in the history of the Six Paths, it is basically based on two situations. First, it is profitable. Second, it has to be done. For example, the previous sieges of Penglai and Kunlun were all profitable, and everyone consciously united. Although there were some quarrels, disagreements and differences in the process, as long as there is still room for interest, there is no need to worry about the team splitting. As for the siege of Shushan, it was obviously have to do. After all, the Wangxi Bangzhushi and Jian should not fall into the hands of the sect, and everyone agreed on this. In this case, the difficulty lies in how to convince the various factions that this is a have-to-do thing. After all, there is no profit in it, and you have to bear risks and losses, but as long as you convince the various factions, you don't have to worry about the follow-up. Wei Dongliu pondered for a long time and finally made a decision. He still had to start from the Immortals. The Wangxi Bangzhuxian sword was a treasure of Jirizhao and he had to get it. But the Qin's human sword was too famous. Even the Chanmei Immortal had to avoid its age when it was fully activated. How could the Jirizhao Immortal not be afraid? On the way to Zhongtai Peak, Wei Dongliu had already prepared a plan in his mind. When he asked to see the Zhuhai Immortal, his expression was calm, but there seemed to be a solemn expression between his brows. What's wrong? The Zhuhai Immortal naturally noticed it and asked immediately. Immortal. Wei Dongliu hesitated for a long time before saying, I got some information, but I don't know whether it is true or not. Please take the time to listen to me. He concealed the detailed information and only said that I heard that Shushan is looking for a sword box and it is said that it can make up for the defect of the low cultivation of the Qin sword master. Although there were only a few words, the Blood Sea Immortal also realized the importance of it, frowned and said, If this is true, I'm afraid it is not a blessing for us. It's just that your information is too vague, that's all. I will write a letter first, and you can take it to the Ingido for me to ask Baigyu if he has received similar news. In terms of intelligence gathering, apart from the mysterious Heldo, the Ingido has always been the leader. It is rumored that there is a kind of secret method inside that can freely change the appearance of the human body, so it is very suitable for ambushing spies. For this, Wei Dongliu had no meaning, nodded and agreed, but in his heart he was thinking about how to convince the Blood Sea ancestor if the Ingido did not get similar information. Could it be that he cut into Ling Yunpo's account, and then get some hard evidence to scare the Blood Sea ancestor? He flew towards Bayman Mountain on his sword, thinking as he walked, but he didn't know that Jiangli was bringing the two sisters Yin and Dayla from the distant East China Sea border to Shenzhou, and he was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. Old thief Wei, don't let me catch you. If you catch me, I will eat you. Obviously, Witch Jing has already blamed Wei Dongliu for the despicable behavior of Hellroad temporarily avoiding the sharp edge. Wei Dongliu didn't know this at the moment. He just flew his sword high in the sky. The wind was cold. He sneezed a few times, then used the warming magic and continued to rush towards Helluo. He came to Bayman Mountain and asked to see Venerable Whitebone. Not long after, Wen Yang came out to greet him first, and asked with a smile, "It's a rare guest for Alliance Leader Wei to visit. The war is over, what's the point of Alliance Leader?" Wei Dongliu waved his hand. As long as the Alliance is not disbanded, this title of Alliance Leader is natural. Wen Yang flattered for a moment, and then said, "My master is practicing an important technique. Is Venerable Whitebone in seclusion?" Wei Dongliu asked in surprise. "That's not the case." Wen Yang said half a sentence and kept silent. Wei Dongliu looked at her expression and knew that it meant I can ask for help with important matters, but I won't receive any small talk. He said, "Take me to see the Venerable first." "Yes." Seeing that he insisted on seeing her, Wen Yang knew that it must be something important. Although the two did not say it explicitly, they had already tested each other's intentions through their exchanges. Walking in the underground palace, Wen Yang, who was leading the way, suddenly said, "In fact, what my master is busy with is the remnants of the previous siege of Kunlun. Since the ceasefire, Kunlun has been clearing out our outer strongholds. We don't want to fight with them, but Kunlun is really annoying, so we can only avoid the sharp edge temporarily. My master has already decided on a retreat strategy, but how to implement it specifically still needs to be discussed with the sect master, so the two of them are really busy recently. By the way, how is the Fanshindo?" Wei Dongliu smiled slightly. The Fanshindo is united as one, and Kunlun dare not provoke it casually, so it is just harassing the periphery, which is not a concern. Wen Yang. This is really infuriating. But it is not wrong. The main reason is that the sphere of influence of the Fanshindo does not directly border the Kunlun Tai-King sect, and there is also the Helluo area of the Ingido in the middle, so the conflict takes priority. Another reason is the establishment of the law transmission mechanism. Since killing enemies rewards contributions, you can exchange the skills in the law transmission hall, so the desire to fight of the ordinary life monks is much higher than that of the Ingido monks. Of course, everyone understands the truth, but each sect has its own situation. The major skills of the Ingido are mainly in the hands of the elders of each sect. Who is willing to hand them over to disciples who are not his own master just because of the contribution of a sect? The ordinary life, all the skills belong to Wei Dongliu. If he is willing to use them to motivate his disciples, it is his freedom. The two end down all the way and finally arrived at the depths of the underground palace. Wen Yang did not lie. The Whitebone Venerable, the Fixie sect leader, and other Ingido elders were meeting here to discuss matters. Chapter 834. Meeting Lady Jing again. Wei Dongliu would naturally not be ignorant of the meeting of other sects and insisted on going over to listen. He found a random excuse and hid in the side room to rest. After a long time, Wen Yang came in to inform that Venerable Baigyu was free to meet him. Wei Dongliu tidied his clothes slightly, and then followed Wen Yang to Venerable Baigu's residence. Among the three direct lines of Jirizhao, the residence of the Blood Sea Patriarch was the most bitter and cold, sitting under the rocks in the ice and snow all day to freeze. The residence of the Free Patriarch was the most luxurious, with a specially built palace on the top of Japan Mountain, which was full of comfortable and exquisite cushions. Venerable Baigu's residence looked very simple. If Wen Yang hadn't led the way personally, Wei Dongliu would have really thought it was an ordinary servant's room. "What do you want to see me for?" Venerable Baigyu laughed happily. Wei Dongliu took out the handwriting at the Blood Sea Patriarch and handed it over. Seeing Wei Dongliu so serious, Venerable Whitebone also became serious. He took the letter and read it for a while, frowned and said, "This thing, although strange, if it is paired with the Chin Sword Master, it will become a big problem." Wei Dongliu had no expression. This conclusion has been said by the Bloodsea ancestor once. What's the matter with you repeating it again? Fortunately, Venerable Whitebone also reacted quickly. Since the Bloodsea ancestor chose to send Wei Dongliu here instead of directly sending the letter by flying sword, he must have felt a sense of crisis. So he said to Wei Dongliu, "Our intelligence network has found out that there are indeed unusual movements in Shushan. Combined with what was said in the Bloodsea letter, we can now know that they're looking for a secret place called Yunming Lake." Yunming Lake? Wei Dongliu asked in surprise. The Yunming Lake is a group of original lakes in the northern plains of ancient Jingzhou. Wen Yang explained, in ancient times, it was said that there were many rivers and lakes there, so it was also called the Wangyang marshland. But in the late ancient times, all these lakes disappeared and turned into large tracts of sunken plains. Everyone thinks that there must be a powerful person who took action and dug up all of this marshland and moved it into his own secret realm. Hilly. Venerable Whitebone also sighed and said, "Look at the ancient, pre-ancient, and modern times. Why has the overall strength of the cultivation world been declining? It is because too many excellent skills have been kept secret, and as a result, the Taoist tradition has been cut off due to accidents. Too many magic weapons and elixirs have been hidden by people and cannot be found after being hidden in the secret realm. Without skills and magic weapons, how can it develop? In my opinion, if we go back to the era of the war between humans and demons, it is unknown whether the human race can win." Wei Dongliu did not respond, but sneered in his heart. "Don't worry, senior. The demons in the East Empire realm are even weaker than their ancestors, and are now enjoying fighting among themselves." "Master." Wen Yang suddenly interrupted him and said, "Let's discuss business, don't talk about irrelevant things." Okay. Being contradicted by his disciple, Venerable Baigyu actually nodded seriously, which shows that he really dotes on Wen Yang. "You continue." "The secret realm of Yunming Zaguo, let's call it that for the time being. It was originally speculated that it might exist because the terrain changed for no reason." Wen Yang continued, "But judging from the recent actions of Shushan, they should have obtained evidence that we don't have and confirmed the existence of this secret realm. As for the entrance to the secret realm, the way to open it, and what treasures are inside, it is also not very clear because Shushan is strictly confidential." But, when Yang paused here, Wei Dongliu immediately understood, took over the topic and said, "However, if Shushan is going to the secret realm, Chin Sword Master and Jing Xiaoxunren must be on the list. As long as we keep a close eye on the movements of these two people, we can naturally follow that clues to find the Yunming Zaguo." "That's right." Wen Yang smiled and said to Venerable Baigyu, "Master, look at who Alliance Leader Wei is. Why does he need me to explain the plan in detail? As long as I give a little hint, he can guess it almost right." Venerable Baigyu chuckled and said, "The main purpose of this action in Yunming's kingdom is to prevent Shushan from getting the treasure, and secondly to seize the treasure. Originally, we in the Engido only planned to compete with Shushan on our own, but since the intelligence from the Fanshengdo shows that Shushan is going this trip for the Chin Sword Master, I think they will definitely go all out. In this case, we in the Six Paths must also cooperate sincerely and send out our best troops. Alliance Leader Wei, last time you took charge of leading everyone to fight against cunning, and your performance was obvious to all. This time, you'll still be in charge, how about it?" Wen Yang smiled lightly beside him, as if she had no emotion of being deprived of power at all. "You know, if the Engido sent troops alone, as the beloved disciple of Venerable Baigyu, she would almost certainly be chosen as the leader. It can only be said that in her heart, Wei Dongliu was more worthy at being the team leader than her in terms of strength, talent and character." Wei Dongliu pondered for a moment and said, "It is disrespectful to refuse, but I still have to report to the ancestor first. Go." Venerable Whitebone waved his hand. Wei Dongliu said goodbye to the two and left, leaving Beiman Mountain and flying towards Japan Mountain in the East China Sea. As soon as they entered the sea area, they saw black fog coming from afar. Who else could it be but Jianglin, the Jiang lady who had traveled thousands of miles? Jianglin came all the way from the East China Sea, and her heart was already full of grief, resentment, bitterness and impatience. As a result, when she saw Wei Dongliu appear in the sea near Japan Mountain, she immediately drove her magic power with all her strength and rushed over. Yinail watched from behind, thinking that this male pet was really not good. When he met Sister and when she was in the worst mood, he was afraid that he would be eaten alive by her, right? Then Jiangling rushed into Wei Dongliu's arms like a young oriole, and started to act like a spoiled child, which stunned the two demons. After all, she was his wife, and although he was very dissatisfied with her leaving the sect's affairs to go out, Wei Dongliu still comforted her with a few words before asking what happened. Jiangling cried and wailed, and roughly told the story. Wei Dongliu immediately knew that his wife was worried about him and followed him, but he was discovered by the Taoist Luo at the Hell Road, so he deliberately adjusted the teleportation formation and teleported her far away. However, thinking about it carefully, it was a bit weird. It stands to reason that since the Hell Road has 3 burrows, each entrance is a secret. Although I don't want this to happen emotionally, if I were the head of the Hell Road, and I met someone like Jiangling who didn't know how to live or die and came to spy, I should teleport him into a trap and kill him directly. It was really strange to just teleport him to the edge of the East China Sea. It seems like there is a feeling of I can't solve it, I can only drive it away. Chapter 835. Qin Sword Master. A large crowd of visitors. Hearing about Wei Dongliu's intention, Jiangli was not impressed. It's just to find that, Yunming's country. I can go back and tell the sect master, isn't it? Although she didn't care about it, she couldn't let her husband know, so she could only take the initiative to propose. Wei Dongliu had no objection. After all, the heavenly demon sect was Jiang's mother's home. If she joined in, the chances of persuading the other party would be greater. When he arrived at the Depanshan Palace, Wei Dongliu successfully met the Patriarch Zizahir and the sect master Dugyu. Unexpectedly, both of them were very easy to talk to. Before the Patriarch Zizahir had finished listening to Wei Dongliu, he said that the heavenly demon sect would do its utmost to support the 6 paths. Sect Master Dugyu seemed a little embarrassed, but after all, the sect's immortal had spoken, so he could only smile and nod, indicating that the heavenly demon sect was duty-bound. Wei Dongliu left with Jiangli secretly, and Dugyu finally couldn't help asking Master Zizahir, "Master, we haven't understood the situation clearly yet, but we just agreed to contribute manpower. Is that really okay? Don't think too much." Master Zizahir interrupted her impatiently. "After all, this alliance leader is one of us, and he won't let us suffer any loss." "Dugyu, how did the leader of the Fanxing Duo become one of us? If we have to make a clear argument, it should be that Jiangli secretly married to the other side and became the other side's talent, right? But on the one hand, the sect suppressing immortal spoke and set the tone, and she really couldn't refute it. On the other hand, as Master Zizahir said, judging from Wei Dongliu's past experience, cooperating with him really didn't suffer much. This alliance leader is different from other sect masters. He doesn't care about the actual benefits of the sect, but he seems to be very enthusiastic about the false reputation in the 6 paths. Following such an alliance leader is not a bad thing for the heavenly demon duo, that's all, that's it." After persuading the heavenly demon duo and the Inghost duo, the remaining Donghuan duo and Shura duo did not have the qualifications to be on an equal footing with the 3 sects of Jirizhao, so Wei Dongliu did not need to visit them in person. A handwritten letter asking them to come over to help share the spoils was already a great honor for them. After returning to Mount Watai, Wei Dongliu and the Bloodsea Patriarch finished their report and returned to the residence of the Fanxing Duo. They were about to check the homework of the 2 apprentices, but were pulled to the side hall by Jiangli. "Husband, come quickly," she said excitedly. "I was teleported to the East China Sea this time, but on the way back I got a big treasure. Let me show you." "What treasure?" Wei Dongliu was puzzled and let her drag him into the room. A moment later, he regretted it. After venting her resentment, Goddess Jingmo went out with a refreshed breath, and Wei Dongliu could only sit in meditation on the bed and use the chaos demon body to regulate his physical deficiency. If he were not a cultivator, he would really die in his wife's belly one day. After conditioning his body, Wei Dongliu decided to reload the game. Let's first understand what Shushan is going to do. A Jin, reload the game. Ling Yunpo. Location 2. Shushan Shangqing Sect, King Luo Peak. Character identity. Ling Yunpo. Mirror Flower Water Moon template overwritten, traveling through time and space. As the Qin Sword Master, Ling Yunpo has been very proud recently. Not only do many fellow disciples compete to curry favor with him, but the elders also care about him. Even many guest immortals from Shushan or friendly with Shushan come to visit this Qin Sword Master, mainly to see the style of Qin Suming Sword. Suming Sword has some complaints about this, thinking that it is being exhibited as a commodity, which is detrimental to its dignity. But Ling Yunpo is a man, so naturally he suppressed his dissatisfaction without any explanation. Su Ming's sword was very unhappy, so he threatened Ling Yunpo to leave him and choose another sword master. As a result, Ling Yunpo was not afraid at all, and asked it. If you choose another sword master, do you know what will happen? At least it won't be treated as a decoration and shown off everywhere. Su Mingjian replied. Wrong. Very wrong. Ling Yunpo laughed. If you choose another sword master, it proves that you are not a loyal natal sword. At the time, everyone in the world who covets you will think, if he is the sword master, why can't I be the sword master? Then the world will be in chaos for fighting for you. You will most likely fall into the hands of an immortal, and then the immortal will be afraid that other immortals will come to snatch you, so they will seal you up and hide you, and you will never see the light of day again. Is this what you want? Su Mingjian was speechless, thinking that it was true. It is not being fought over by anyone now, firstly because everyone is afraid of the power of the Shushanshan King sect, and secondly because it has already chosen a master, so even if it is snatched away by others, it cannot be used. If I choose another master, it proves that the choice of Qin sword master can be changed, so won't everyone fight for it? In this way, the new sword master will definitely lock himself in a small dark room to prevent himself from being robbed. That's much worse than being taken away for exhibition. After all, in a sense, being taken away by Ling Yunpo for exhibition is also a way to declare sovereignty, isn't it? Su Mingjian finally convinced himself and sighed in silence. Kunlun Mirror watched coldly from the side, thinking that if this guy sold me one day, would I still help him count the money and think that I sold it well? This magic weapon has no main body, and I met such a guy whose words are like illusions. I can only let the other party play tricks on me. Fortunately, I have collected the main body and can transform and leave at any time. Qin Su Mingjian has been in the sword pool for a long time, and its brain is not working well. I can't repeat its mistakes. Not to mention that the sword and the mirror have their own thoughts. The Yuan family patriarch came to visit again and praised the Qin Su Ming sword. Look at this lotus relief. The lotus is born in the mud but is not stained. This is a metaphor for the Su Ming swords gathering the Qin but not being turbid, and the intention is extremely lofty. Look at the length of this sword, 3 feet and 6 inches, which is also relatively rare among flying swords. If there is no special situation, flying swords will generally be made into 3 feet, 6 inches and 5 points, but Xa deliberately made it 5 points less. Why is this? As he spoke, he fell into a state of deep thought. Why is this? Ling Yunpo asked curiously. The innate Qinqi is not enough, so it can only be made into 3 feet and 6 inches. Su Ming sword replied. There must be a deep meaning in this. The Yuan family patriarch finally concluded, this 5 points less may be some kind of key to the current powerful strength of the Qin Su Ming sword. Unfortunately, I can't figure it out for the time being, and I have to find the swordsmith in the clan to study it. This ancestor came carelessly and left in a hurry, leaving Ling Yunpo speechless. Is the Yuan family's ancestor gone? Zisu asked as he came out of the side hall. Yeah, I took a look at the flying sword. The headmaster Su Jian followed his daughter and came out of the side hall. His expression was gloomy, as if he had just been scolded by his daughter again. His face was very bad. Chapter 836 What is self-defeating? Su Jian was in a very depressed mood. Although he had been in seclusion for 100 years, in his memory, his daughter was still the obedient daughter. How could she suddenly enter the rebellious period? Zisu ignored his father and just said to Ling Yunpo, let's go and have a drink. Then Master, Ling Yunpo said hesitantly, which immediately comforted Su Jian. Sure enough, although his daughter was rebellious, at least this disciple knew how to maintain the dignity of the master. As the head of the sect, the master is busy with all kinds of affairs. How can he have time to care about the love affairs of us young people? Senior sister said seriously, we'd better not cause trouble for him. Ling Yunpo wanted to say something, but was soon pulled away by Zisu without explanation. The two left King Luo Peak, but Ling Yunpo found that senior sister and did not go to the market, but took him to the direction of the demon locking tower. Sister. Of course we can't go to the market. Zisu sighed, what if master comes along later? Ling Yunpo was shocked. Sister actually has a brain. So where are we going? The demon locking tower. Zisu was shocked. Let's go to the demon locking tower to relax. Ling Yunpo. How can you go to kill monsters to relax? But he also knew that sister likes to drink and practice sword when she is in a bad mood. Now that the market can't be visited and there is no wine to drink, the only thing to do is to find monsters to practice sword. The two of them had guarded the demon locking tower for a period of time before, so they were very familiar with the structure and environment inside. The demon locking tower is a place where the weak are preyed on by the strong. Most of the monsters will not only kill people when they see them, but also will not show mercy to other monsters. They are very fierce and barbaric. Therefore, even from the perspective of Long Long in the Eastern Empire realm, there is no psychological burden to kill these monsters. As for Lin Yunpo, it doesn't matter. The two entered the demon locking tower. Zisu quickly led Lin Yunpo to the lower level, and then chose the death gate to rush in. They kill people indiscriminately. In the secret realm led by this death gate, there lived a kind of demon called Ba. It was not a drat Ba, but a close relative. It was extremely aggressive and cruel. It liked to suppress its prey with long nails and eat their internal organs alive. But compared with Zisu, these demons were not cruel. Zisu first rushed into the Ba group with his sword, and then countless sword ki suddenly erupted in all directions, carrying fierce flames and black smoke, and instantly killed all the surrounding Ba. Ling Yunpo was also stunned. He knew that this was the seal of the Feon sword, and the effect was to shoot out a sword ki like black smoke. This method is a bit like a semi-automatic rifle. It shoots out a sword ki when it is activated once with the true essence. What Zisu did at this time was to spin rapidly in the state of unity between man and sword, and during the spinning process, he accurately shot sword energy at every Ba around him, thus creating an effect as if a hedgehog exploded its needles, pierced the 6 directions, and shot swords in all directions. Sure enough, in terms of swordsmanship attainments, he was still not as good as senior sister Am, who was born with a sword heart. TSK. Su Mingjin complained to Kumlinjin privately. Do you think he said this sincerely? Or is he just pretending? What he said is indeed correct. Kumlinjin was puzzled. Simply speaking, from the perspective of swordsmanship skills, he is indeed not as good as Zisu, but this guy's starting point is too high, and he has been smooth sailing all the way. His Dodo Foundation realm is far beyond his peers. Now he has become accustomed to using force to defeat cleverness. I'm afraid it's not realistic to ask him to carefully study swordsmanship. King Ping's sword nodded and agreed deeply. Zisu killed the enemy in the front, and Lin Yunpo swept the formation in the back. Unlike the domineering and meticulous moves of senior sister, Lin Yunpo's sword moves are undoubtedly much simpler. Seeing the approaching Ba, he pinched his sword formula and used a move of white rainbow piercing the sun and then directly attacking the dragon. The moves were not surprising, but the sword speed was amazing, so it was also a sword that killed a kid. The killing was not as fast as Zisu, but there was a kind of clean and neat beauty. After this round of killing, Zisu also vented his resentment and even shouted that it was refreshing. Ling Yunpo looked carefully and saw that there was no living demon left around. When he was on duty at the demon locking tower, senior sister often took him to the demon locking tower to practice sword. Every time he went to a place and killed it to the end, the demons there often either fled when they saw Am, or knelt down and begged for mercy, which made Zisu unable to do it. After all, there is a difference between humans and demons. A good fight is the relationship that senior sister hopes for. You begged me so directly, making me seem like a killer who would destroy the clan at any time. Little did they know that in the eyes of the monsters, Zisu was an absolute killer. Other Shushan monks entered the locking monster tower to seek some resources or secret realms produced by the monsters. If someone is purely interested in killing, what else could he be but a killer? Zisu was very happy, and said to Ling Yunpo, "This monster is the most ferocious. It will fight to the death and will not beg for mercy. Junior brother, we will come here to practice swordsmanship in the future." Ling Yunpo was silent for a moment, and said carefully, "There must be a purpose for housing the Ba people in the locking monster tower. Senior sister, we can practice swordsmanship, but don't really kill them. Otherwise, it will be difficult to explain if the higher-ups blame us." As soon as he said this, Ling Yunpo realized, how could the higher-ups blame him? Look at who is the current head of Shushan. With Su Jian's protective nature, let alone exterminating the Ba clan, even if all the demons in the locking demon tower were killed, this guy might even praise well done, and then go around the world to find demons to take back. That's true. Zisu didn't react, or maybe it was just what her junior brother said. She had given up thinking, and nodded and said, "Then let's practice here today." The two left the locking demon tower and returned to King Luo Peak. Nothing happened that day. Ling Yunpo felt something was wrong. Where is the Yunming Zaguo? According to the Ingadeo, the Yunming Zaguo should be a secret realm of extremely high rank. After all, its builders can move mountains and fill the sea, and the rank of the treasures placed in it will naturally not be much worse. The difficulty is naturally the same. From this point of view, Shushan should have sent out its elite, and this kind of thing must be a big deal. Even the Ingadeo spies can find out. Why haven't I received any news? So he went to visit Sujian. Sujian was not in a very good mood at this time. After all, his daughter had a rebellious personality, and Ling Yunpo was also a little angry. But he was not an unreasonable person after all, so he asked indifferently, "What do you want to ask me, master?" "Master," Ling Yunpo said carefully, "although I am the master of Qin sword, I am suffering from insufficient strength and realm, and I cannot exert the power of this sword. Therefore, I want to ask you, master, is there any magic weapon that can solve this problem?" He thought Sujian would say, "What a coincidence, the sect is looking for this secret treasure for you," but he saw Sujian staring at him blankly. "What magic weapon?" Sujian asked in confusion, and then quickly came to his senses. If there really is such a magic weapon that can make up for the problem that the master of Qin sword cannot use the Qin's human sword smoothly, the strategic significance to the Shanqing sect of Shushan must be immeasurable. "Wait a minute." Sujian immediately put on the airs of a master and said, "I don't know for the time being, and I will ask the immortal." Chapter 837 Yunming Marshland. At the bottom of the locking demon tower, since the immortal Chanmei stopped interfering in the sect's political affairs, he has been living in seclusion here to guard. Seeing Ling Yunpo coming to visit behind Sujian, the old immortal looked a little embarrassed. A few days ago, the immortal Kisan and the immortal Wang Xiang sent him a message to comfort him, saying, "Don't be too sad, everyone has times when they make mistakes." Who knew that a little unknown disciple would be the Qin sword master? These remarks made the immortal Chanmei feel ashamed. To say that he was unknown was of course not true. Long before the Qin's human sword was exposed, Ling Yunpo and Zisu stood out in many competitions with their extraordinary swordsmanship and rich experience in fighting. The real problem is that the immortal Chanmei is too paranoid, and because of Sujian's matter, he was angry with Zisu, so he completely ignored the shining points of the two. As an immortal, he does have the qualifications. After all, no matter how strong their talents are, they are just small Jinden's Hinran. As Zisu became a second-grade golden elixir, the immortal Chanmei changed his opinion of her. In response, he looked down on Ling Yunpo more and more, thinking that this person had caused trouble for his disciple's beloved daughter Shi Wen Qingliu, which was really abominable. As a result, Ling Yunpo suddenly turned into the Qin sword master, which was like a slap in the face of the immortal. From then on, even if the immortal Chanmei still had prejudices against Wen Qingliu, he didn't have the face to continue to interfere. After all, recently some people in Shushan privately complained that the immortal looked down on Zisu, who was a second-grade golden elixir, looked down on Ling Yunpo, who was the Qin sword master. "I don't know who will be looked down on next," and these words reached the ears of the immortal Chanmei, and almost made him feel ashamed. Seeing Ling Yunpo come in, the long-browed immortal forced out an awkward smile and just asked Sujian, "Is there something?" "Master." Sujian whispered Ling Yunpo's request and concluded, "In short, if I can find such a rare treasure, my disciple will be able to use the power of Qin's human sword more easily." Ling Yunpo was extremely speechless. "This is really not my request. I just asked if there is such a rare treasure." "Oh, what are you doing?" "I see." The long-browed immortal thought that this was a good opportunity to repair the relationship, and hurriedly said, "Since this treasure is useful to King Feng's Hinran, we Shushan will find it even if we mobilize all the people in the sect. I will write to a few trusted old friends and ask them if they have similar clues." After speaking, the long-browed immortal waved his sleeves, and countless flying swords shot out from them, flying in all directions. Sujian hurriedly pulled Ling Yunpo to thank him. After leaving the demon-locking tower, Sujian comforted him. "Now that the immortal has taken action, I think there will definitely be a good result. Don't worry, go back to the peak to practice." Ling Yunpo was speechless, thinking that there would be a result for sure, but whether it was a good result was another matter. I really didn't expect it to be like this." After returning to King Luo Peak, Ling Yunpo went to find senior sister and told her about it. "That would be great," Zisu said happily. "If this can find that corresponding treasure, junior brother's strength should be greatly improved." "It's not just a great improvement, it's simply invincible, okay? It's about to take away Qiu Chain Time's invincible personality." Ling Yunpo complained in his heart, but he couldn't tell his sister who cared about him, so he could only keep it in his heart. A few days later, the immortal Chanmei received news that your good friend had picked up sentences from ancient books and carefully considered that there might be a thing called Yunming Sword Box in Yunming Zaguo, which could allow the sword master to inject true essence into it in advance, and then use the true essence in the sword box to activate the flying sword in battle. The mystery here is that the true essence of the immortals is much more condensed than that of the Jindan cultivators. Therefore, if the immortals are allowed to inject true essence, it can provide the necessary energy for the activation of the Qin's human sword. The immortal Chanmei received the news as if he had found a treasure, and hurriedly called Su Jian, Ling Yunpo and Zisu to inform them of the matter. In this case, I will pass the order and ask the monks under my sect to do their best to find that traces of Yunmeng Zagyo. Su Jian said. And don't be too ostentatious. Zisu suddenly said, be careful not to leak the news. Of course. Su Jian nodded and said, if the Yunmeng sword box really exists, its significance to the Qin sword master and even the entire Shushan is self-evident. If the demon cult gets the news, they will definitely try every means to interfere and obstruct, and will definitely not allow Shushan to get this treasure. Ling Yunpo remained calm, thinking that the demon cult not only knew the news a long time ago, but Wei Donliu has also counted the elite and is ready to come and kill you at any time. Su Jian had no idea, but quickly counted the people and went to find that trace of Yunmeng Zagyo. After about half a month, he finally received exciting news. The clue to Yunmeng Zagyo has been found. This time, the meritorious person was an outer disciple. This person claimed that he had not yet worshipped Shushan in his early years. He lived in the north of the Yangtze River in Jingzhou. When he was a child, he drowned in a river and accidentally entered a mysterious swamp country, which was full of dangers and demons. He did not dare to go too deep, so he could only bite the bullet and force himself to swim in the pool when he came. Finally, he successfully returned to Jingzhou. Shushan sent people to follow that clues guided by the outer disciples and found the small river where he had drowned. Strangely, no trace of the entrance to the secret realm was found. But according to the nearby fishing village, this river is indeed a bit strange. In the early years, there were often rumors that someone had drowned here and disappeared for no reason, and even the body was not found, so the nearby villagers almost never came here. After Shushan understood the situation, they went to King Zhou to invite the master of divination Jianbai to help investigate the way to open the secret realm. Nowadays, there are not many cultivators in the world of cultivation who are proficient in divination. It goes without saying that Jianbai is a veteran divination master. It is also said that Donyu's Hinran of Yu King Temple is good at this. But this time Shushan required strict confidentiality and it was impossible to reveal the news to Yu King Temple, so the idea of asking Donyu's Hinran for help was also rejected. Jianbai was brought to Shushan, and Su Jian quickly gathered the people. A number of Yuning elders, many Jintan's Hinran, as well as Ling Yunpo and Zisu, accompanied Jianbai to the Jinbei Plain. They arrived at the Jinbei Plain and found the small river in question. There were jungles all around, and the river flowed between the rolling hills, which did not look unusual. This landscape is quite interesting. Jianbai said. Excuse me, what's so interesting about it? Ling Yunpo asked curiously. To put it simply, it's just the normal changes of the world, which can't produce such a terrain. Jianbai said with a smile, it feels like a poorly skilled painter used this vast land as a canvas and painted it vividly. Chapter 838 What about me? If my hexagram is correct, the builder of Yunmeng's country should not be human. Jianbai said. Not human? Su Jian frowned slightly, but he was not embarrassed. When ordinary people think that the great man who built the secret realm is not human, they should worry that the other party will dislike humans, or even deliberately target humans in the secret realm. But Su Jian's brain circuit is different from others. When he heard that it was not human, he felt relieved. In this way, wouldn't it be possible to fight happily? In a sense, Zisu's love of sword practice is not a genetic mutation. How to open it? Su Jian asked again to confirm. I dare to guess that it requires drowning. Jianbai said, when a person is drowning, he is trapped on the terrifying edge of life and death, which can trigger the opportunity to open the secret realm. Everyone fell silent. Ignorant villagers who can't swim will naturally be afraid when they fall into the water. But all the people present were monks, so let alone drowning, even if they were thrown into the sea without eating, drinking or breathing, there would be no problem at all. How could they have the fear of drowning? If the demon cult was here, it would be simple. Just go to a nearby villager and press him into the water without letting him breathe. The opportunity would come naturally. But since Shushan claims to be righteous, it certainly has no face to do such bullying, so everyone was in a dilemma. Why not offer a large reward? An elder of Shushan suddenly suggested. Under the heavy reward, greed will blind people and find someone who can't swim to swim over. When he drowns and opens the secret realm, at worst we can rescue him, and it won't be considered a violation of the bottom line of the Orthodox religion. After all, he volunteered. When Su Jian heard this, he immediately made a decision and said, let's do it. Anyway, the gold, silver and jewelry that are useless to the immortals are tempting enough for these mortals, so this is a win-win situation. Several Jinn and sword immortals were ordered to disperse. Not long after, he brought dozens of people back to the river. Su Jian was very straightforward. He paid half of the deposit first, and then paid the remaining half after everyone swam across the river, regardless of success or failure. Of course, those who were willing to risk their lives for this life-saving money were not kind and honest people. Someone immediately questioned and asked, if we drown in the river, and you fish us out, won't you have to pay a penny? You must pay the full amount first and let us send it back home to save it, then it will count. This statement seems to make some sense, but in fact, once the money is taken back home, this person will definitely find a chance to run away. Su Jian nodded and said, please leave this person. The man who spoke changed his face, but the sword immortals around him all drew their swords. He just thought he had met a tough guy in the martial arts world who was difficult to talk to, so he could only retreat. With this previous lesson, the others did not dare to bargain anymore, so they had to go to Shushan one by one to collect the money, and then swim to the other side of the river. Ling Yunpa watched from the side, and saw these people walk a few steps along the riverbed, and gradually their feet floated in the air, and they could only struggle with their hands and feet dancing, they really couldn't swim. Soon, these guys ran out of strength and sank without a sound. The people of Shushan looked at the river in silence. On the one hand, they wanted to save people, but on the other hand, they were afraid that going directly to save people would hinder the opening of the secret realm. For a while, they didn't know what to do. Suddenly, they heard Jian Bian say, someone disappeared. Disappeared? That means entering the secret realm. Save. Su Jian quickly ordered, and everyone used their magic to rescue the remaining drowning people, and then treated them with elixirs, and then paid the money promised in advance. These people walked in front of the gate of hell, and at this time, everyone was still in fear, and they didn't dare to say much to the people in Shushan. They just took the money and ran away. It is estimated that they will not come to this river for the rest of their lives. Jian Bian quickly stepped on the 7-star gang step and began to calculate the specific whereabouts of the missing person. Long before everyone stepped into the river, he had asked everyone's birth date and knew that the missing person was a village woman. He made hand gestures and spun his feet. After about a quarter of an hour, Jian Bian finally said, the mechanism is at the bottom of the river. He took the Shushan sword immortal and flew over. He found a place at the bottom of the river and dug several feet deep. Sure enough, he found a strange human figure. The human figure was buried in the mud at the bottom of the river. It was dark all over, with 3 eyes on its head, a green face and fangs. The shape was rough and looked weird. It is this thing that connects to Yunmengzagyo. Jian Bian said to Su Jian, if there is someone who is good at illusion, and injects 7 emotions and 6 desires into it, I think it will be able to open the passage to the secret realm. Is there anyone who is good at this kind of illusion? Su Jian immediately looked around and asked. I recently got a sword of 6 desires and 7 emotions from the heavenly demonic duo. An elder suddenly said, when this sword technique is activated and performed, it will invade the opponent's mind with a silent illusion. I thought it was of little use, but I didn't expect it to be used here. Then please ask Elder King Yan to cast a spell. Su Jian said impatiently. The elder was not angry. After all, everyone knew Su Jian's temper, so he just went over calmly to perform swordsmanship. The swordsmanship seemed graceful and beautiful, but there was a strange aura emanating from it. After a while, the statue's eyes suddenly lit up and emitted a deep purple light. Everyone felt a suction force pulling them in quickly. Everyone did not resist, and let the world spin, and then they were teleported to another place. It was really full of swamps here, and it was hard to find a dry ground even under their feet. Looking around, puddles and silt were intertwined, like colorful blocks on zebra fur. A bit ugly. What made people feel even more uncomfortable than this ugly and bad environment was the disgusting smell of a large number of demons that were spreading in the air unscrupulously. Of course, for the Shushan monks, the smell of demons was just the smell of demons, just like the unique smell of mud of freshwater fish. But for Lin Yunpo, who had been in the East Empire realm for a long time, he could distinguish a different smell from these smells. There were mainly two kinds of smells. One was the scales and the other was the kun. Both of these demons were aquatic demons, so it was not surprising that they would appear in the marshland. However, there was no pressure from the dragons in the scales, but it was more like the smell of snakes. There was no smell of black turtles on the kun side, but a faint, rotten smell, which should be insect demons. If snakes and insects appeared in front of the girl at the same time, I'm afraid that she would be scared to scream, but the Shushan sword immortals who were present were all demon killing and demon killing, and they would not be afraid at all. First, divide into 4 teams, explore 20 miles in the east, west, south and north, and then return the same way and report the results. Su Jian quickly ordered. Under his command, everyone quickly split into 4 groups. Zisu suddenly asked, "What about me? You are not allowed to go anywhere." Su Jian said angrily. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 839 Xuan Temple. Zisu was furious. Although she knew that Su Jian was doing this for her own good, she had won more than she lost in the past 100 years in Shushan. Who dared not to recognize her strength? Why didn't they allow me to fight even before I had even conducted any reconnaissance? Could it be that in Master's mind, my strength was so insignificant? Ling Yunpo comforted her gently, but he could see clearly in his heart. This senior sister must have reached her rebellious period. What is the rebellious period? It is the psychological state of adolescents who, in the process of growing up, go from relying on their parents to awakening to self-awareness, and can't wait to prove to their parents that I can do it, and even deliberately go against their parents. Although senior sister is not young, she has not been with Su Jian for a long time. In addition, most monks work behind closed doors and lack social experience. It is not surprising that they have only entered the rebellious period now. The only problem is that Su Jian doesn't seem to know what the rebellious period is. Judging from his expression, he probably thought that his daughter didn't love her father anymore, so he could only cast a heartbroken look at Ling Yunpo. Ling Yunpo could certainly understand his father-in-law's hint. Good son-in-law, help persuade her. It was impossible to persuade her, because when senior sister came to complain to him, she definitely didn't want to hear the answer your father also has his own difficulties. Many times, for women, which side you stand on is more important than who is right or wrong. So he slowly reached into his sleeve and took out a wine pot. Zisu's eyes lit up immediately. After all, she only has 2 hobbies, one is drinking, and the other is practicing swordsmanship. Nowadays, practicing swordsmanship is not very good, but it would be nice to have wine to drink. Junior brother, what kind of wine is this? King Klehung. I haven't heard of Shushan. No, I bought it in Yangzhou. The taste is a bit light, but it has a sweet aftertaste in the throat, it's okay. Zisu poured himself a drink and poured a few glasses for Lin Yunpo, and the originally bored expression on his face also eased. Okay, master, I have calmed down senior sister. Ling Yunpo looked at Su Jian, who was watching the two drinking eagerly, and his throat seemed to move. Master, please be decent. Ling Yunpo sighed, and pulled the reluctant senior sister over to pour a glass for Su Jian. So Su Jian was immediately very pleased, and said seriously, now that we are doing business, it is not convenient to drink, but since this is the first time for me to toast, I will drink a glass with you. Zisu twitched his mouth, revealing an expression that wanted to mock but held back. The others had already split into 4 and went to explore the surrounding environment. Only the master and his apprentice were left here to drink, and soon they drank the whole pot of wine. Kim Feng. Su Jian said with satisfaction, you have been my disciple for a long time, but I was in seclusion at the time, so I didn't have anything good to teach you. Here are some of my sword practice insights during the Jindan realm, I'll give them to you. Thank you, master. Ling Yunpo knew that this was a toast in return for his toast, and hurriedly accepted it sincerely. Su Jian went to talk to his daughter again, and Ling Yunpo took out the scriptures and flipped through them. I saw that Su Jian wrote on the first page swordsmanship, stabbing is the key. Well said, Ling Yunpo nodded secretly. In the art of controlling the sword, stabbing is indeed faster than slashing, because when the flying sword flies, it flies in the direction of the sword tip. If it is a slash, you need to quickly turn your body sideways and swing the sword when rushing in front of the target. But if you want to stack the enemy, you don't need to bother changing your moves, just stab directly. Ling Yunpo looked at the second line again, and saw Su Jian continue to write. Today, a certain family went to the plateau and killed a few bald foreign monks. Ling Yunpo. How did it suddenly become a diary? He flicked through it carefully and realized that Su Jian's words about some insights were indeed true. It recorded his various thoughts at different times in a messy manner. Some of them were indeed thoughts about swordsmanship, while some was simply written in a diary, such as who I defeated or who I killed, and even nonsense such as where is the best wine to drink. It is really not an easy task to find truly useful information from it. Ling Yunpo was bored and flipping through the scriptures, not disturbing the conversation between the father and daughter. On the other side, the 4 waves of monks who ended out to investigate soon all came back. According to the reports of these monks, everyone knew that there was a vast water area in the south, and it was not known whether it was a lake or an ocean. There were swamps in the east and west, and the farther away, the more water there was and the less solid it was. In the north was an undulating hilly area, accompanied by a typical tropical rainforest, as well as many vines, poisonous snakes and poisonous insects. Next, it was necessary to choose a direction and focus on in-depth exploration. Choose, Su Jian was about to say it casually, but suddenly asked Ling Yunpo, Kim Fen, which direction do you think we should choose to explore? You also want to ask me this? Ling Yunpo complained in his heart, but said, choose the north. Why? Su Jian asked with interest. First rule out the south. Ling Yunpo explained, although we Shushan monks are not afraid of water, we are not as familiar with the environment as the aquatic monsters. It is always better to avoid it. Therefore, we have to choose from the 3 directions of east, west and north. The east and west are both swamps, and the more water flows, the more likely it is to be connected to the southern swamp. The north is a jungle area with a complex environment, which is suitable for monsters to hide, and the possibility of treasure is greater. Su Jian nodded, but he didn't think about it carefully. Obviously, like an Zesu, he said whatever you say, and directly ordered, explore the north first. The Shushan sword immortals set out to the north and entered the jungle. The jungle was indeed rugged and difficult to navigate, with tree roots entangled in the ground and vines growing thickly, leaving almost no place for people to rest. So everyone used their swordsmanship or sword-based magic to quickly clear a path ahead. Ling Yunpo wanted to say, if we were to make such a big fuss, would it be easy to alert the enemy? But it was obvious that if he really said that, given Su Jian's personality, he would probably answer, isn't it better? It's just right to catch them all in one fell swoop. Thinking of this, Ling Yunpo also sighed silently, thinking that this invincible lineup dispatched by our Shushan really had no chance of losing. Forget it, let him go. I just don't know what happened to Wei Dongliu. Oh, I read Ling Yunpo's profile first, so the future Wei Dongliu must know how to enter the secret realm. There's no need to worry about that. The Shushan people quickly went deep into the jungle, cutting through all kinds of obstacles along the way, and soon arrived in the depths of the jungle, where they found a temple. Ling Yunpo looked at the relief carvings on the outer wall of the temple, and some strange emotion surged from his heart. A tortoise and a snake intertwined, is this, Xuan? Chapter 840 Dragon Turtle Monster. Speaking of Xuan, we have to go back to ancient times. In that era, there was no distinction between the races of hairy, scaly, horned and feathered kun. The reason why many demons gathered together was not because of blood ties, but for better survival. Among them, Jialong was good at attacking, and Xuangui was good at defending, so the 2 tribes became close to each other, and even lived together, forming a tribe with the name Xuan. As for when Xuan disintegrated, that is another story. Xuan Temple. Among the elders of Shushan, there were also several who were familiar with the history of the demon tribe, and they could not help but be surprised. What is the story behind this Xuan temple? Su Jian asked immediately. Xuan was one of the 4 powerful tribes of the demon tribe in the past. An elder of Shushan replied, although they are one tribe, they are actually the Jialong and Xuangui tribes. Later, the demon tribe was defeated and collectively retreated to the East Empire realm. Some of the demon tribes still stayed in the remote corners of Shanzhou and multiplied. I think this Xuan temple should be built by the remaining Xuan tribe. No, Ling Yunpo frowned and thought to himself. The relief carvings on the outer wall of the temple, the pattern on the back of the black tortoise is completely wrong, the body of the dragon is not that long, and the horns are in the style of a unicorn. The builders of this temple have never seen the Xuan clan, and they only carved it according to some vague guesses. Perhaps this Yunweng's kingdom was originally built by the Xuanwu clan, but some changes must have happened later, so that the cultural heritage of Xuanwu was completely cut off, otherwise the temple would not be built like this. You know, in the demon clan where clan culture is prevalent, the temple is equivalent to the ancestral hall of humans, which is the face of the ancestors. The outer wall was built with so many mistakes that it can almost be regarded as a scandal. If the Xuanwu clan was still there, how could it be allowed to stand until now? The crowd did not choose to fly over the wall with a sword. After all, the elders also said that Xuanwu was once one of the 4 strongest demons. Who knows what kind of restrictions are inside the temple that will attack intruders who jump over the wall? After walking for a distance, they soon found the main entrance of the temple. Su Jian took the lead and stepped into it, quickly scanning the surroundings. There is a smell of blood, not long ago, he said in a deep voice. In other words, a killing had taken place here not long ago, so now the temple courtyard is empty. Seeing this, the faces of the Shushan sword immortals all became gloomy. In the best case, maybe the natives of the secret realm had an internal conflict, or even killed each other. But if you think about it, in the worst case, maybe someone got there first and looted everything here. Thinking of this, everyone couldn't help but feel annoyed. Su Jian walked into the main hall with a gloomy face, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and the cold sword was unsheathed. As if it was a signal flare, the flying swords behind the elders were unsheathed, and they saw a group of demons guarding the hall, led by the notorious Wei demon Wei Donliu who had besieged Kunlun in the past. I advise you not to fight here. Jianglin stood beside Wei Donliu and said with a smile, lest you say we are bullying the minority with our numbers. The number of people on the demon cult side seems to be indeed larger than that on the Shushan side. Ling Yunpa was quickly scanning the opposite side, and heard Su Jian sneer and say, "What a demon." As soon as the voice fell, the cold sword had already shot out and went straight for Jianglin's head. Wei Dongliu remained calm. Jianglin was smiling, and the 6 people behind him did not try to stop him, but showed a sarcastic and playful look. Su Jian's face suddenly changed, and a blue light and shadow emerged from the void, and then fiercely chopped down on his head. In a flash, he pinched the sword formula in his hand, and the cold sword changed from stabbing to picking, and quickly met the blue light and shadow. The light and shadow immediately split into 2 and was cut off on the spot by the cold sword, and Su Jian's face turned pale. Ling Yunpo knew that it should be the cold sword that was injured, and the sympathy of his life was implicated. That blue light and shadow seemed to be swift and silent, but it was unexpectedly so powerful that it could actually damage the origin of the cold sword. Ling Yunpo immediately realized and hurriedly said to everyone, "Don't do it, there is a ban in the hall." The swords of the Shushan people had been unsheathed, and after hearing the reminder from the true Manking Fen, they also stopped their swords and stopped attacking. So the faces of the people from the demon cult opposite turned disappointed, and Jianglin looked at Ling Yunpo and narrowed his eyes with ill intent. Zisu calmly stepped aside and blocked the malicious gaze of the great freedom heavenly demon. Seeing that the people from the demon cult did not take the opportunity to counterattack, the people from Shushan also understood. There must be some mechanism in this hall that does not allow anyone to use force here, otherwise they will use the infinitely powerful blue light and shadow to attack directly. It is that Su Jian's swordsmanship is too powerful, and he can switch from offensive to defense at a critical moment. If it were an ordinary cultivator who was hit by one, I'm afraid he would be torn into pieces directly. Ling Yunpa was secretly surprised, and recalled the blue light and shadow just now. How come the shape and outline of the light and shadow are so similar to the tail of a dragon? Oh, a whip. Both sides occupied the left and right sides of the main hall, and neither of them said a word. However, Shushan was at a loss, not knowing what they were waiting for here. Liu Du was confident, but he didn't know whether they really knew the secret or were pretending. Soon, a sinister voice came from inside. Another wave of enemies. It doesn't matter. When I cultivate my magic skills to perfection, none of you can leave alive. You will all die. All of you will die. Shushan was silent, and still didn't know what was going on. The demon cult suddenly became nervous, and seemed to be preparing to take action, so that Shushan was also facing a great enemy. Now. Wei Dongliu suddenly shouted. With his order, the demon cult members took action one after another. The brilliance of various spells, magic weapons, and magic swords actually bombarded the Xuan statue deep in the hall. The Shushan side had already prepared the sword tactics to counterattack, but suddenly found that the attack was not directed at them, so they all turned to the statue. The statue was bombarded by the crowd and immediately exploded, revealing its strange true body. Ling Yunpo took a closer look and almost vomited the wine he had drunk earlier. What kind of ugly monster is this? It looks like it has a shell like a black turtle, but there are 6 legs sticking out from under the shell, and its neck is as slender as a snake, as if it is made of the flesh and blood of a dragon and a black turtle. The monster roared furiously and crushed towards everyone with the might of Mount Tai. It can be seen that Liu Lo had been prepared and quickly divided into 2 teams. One team didn't care about the monster at all, but took advantage of the statue blocking the door to shatter and quickly rushed to the passage behind. The other team quickly attracted and intercepted the monster's attack, so that it could not attack the front team, and intentionally or unintentionally directed the attack towards the Shushan team. Shushan was unprepared and caught off guard, so they could only pour their attacks on the huge monster. The monster became even more furious as it felt the pain, and it swung its tail under its shell hard, then hit the Shushan people hard. Chapter 841. Which kills husband. The Shushan sword immortal's fighting strength is indeed extraordinary. Just one volley of flying swords caused a lot of wounds on the monster, and blood flowed. But the monster also had amazing vitality. In a few breaths, all the wounds healed. What should we do? Several Shushan elders retreated to Su Jian's side and asked quickly. The current situation is more complicated. The intention of the demon cult has been exposed. They don't want to fight with Shushan here, but want to enter the passage behind the monster first to plunder the treasures of Yunwen's country. In fact, their tactics were successful, but this opportunity was fleeting. They seized the moment when the monster didn't react and the Shushan people didn't know what was going on. Now if Shushan wants to repeat the same trick, it will have to risk the monster's attack and the opposite demon cult people taking advantage of the fire to rob. The risk is much greater than that of the demon cult team. But if you choose to kill the monster first, or the opposite demon cult, it will take too long. What to do? Attack the monster first. Su Jian quickly made a decision. If there were only monsters, he would have asked everyone to try to charge in. The problem now is that the demon monks on the opposite side will never sit idly by, and human wisdom is far superior to that of monsters. The risk of charging in is too high. It is very likely that 1 or 2 people will be killed while 6 or 7 people will be killed. It is undoubtedly a safer choice to focus fire on killing the monster first, and then quickly split into 2 teams, one team to go in and grab the treasure, and the other team to clean up the demon monks outside. As the Shushan monks focused their fire on the monster obviously howled more fiercely, but it was no match for the sword immortals. Although it has the biological characteristics of both the dragon and the black turtle, it does not seem to have inherited the corresponding knowledge, bloodline or supernatural powers, which require both bloodline or inheritance and learning supernatural powers. If you have not learned them, you can't use them. You can only use the shell on your back to withstand attacks and use the dragon's tail to hit people. Even so, it can only barely hold up under the violent attacks of the Shushan sword immortals with the simplest physical attacks and defenses. Countless flying swords were shining like rain, hitting the monster so hard that it couldn't get out of its shell. It could only swing its tail around. Everyone focused their sword skills on the exposed tail of the opponent, and blood and flesh splattered, and scales flew. The attacks of the cold sword and the flying smoke sword were the most powerful. Ling Yunpo looked carefully and saw that the cold sword always attacked the weakest part of the dragon's tail, so that it could cleverly interrupt its attack angle every time and avoid falling into the Shushan crowd. The flying smoke sword was more direct, aiming at the opponent's wounds, and each time it hit the monster more deeply. In addition to attacking the monster, Shushan also assigned some monks to defend against the attacks of the demon cult monks on the opposite side. Originally, the demon cult monks were also cooperating to focus on the monster, but seeing that Shushan seemed to have no problem fighting alone, they immediately shifted their firepower to try to sneak attack Shushan. On the Shushan side, Ling Yunpo pinched the sword formula, and the consuming sword rushed out immediately. The Taoist magic on the sword was activated, and a large amount of river water gushed out from the void, forming a huge barrier between Shushan and the demon monks. The 3 parties were fighting, and the scene was very chaotic. The Shushan monks attacked the monsters, and the monsters fought back. The demon monks attacked Shushan, and Shushan fought back again. For a while, it seemed that both sides were attacking the Shushan monks. However, when the monster attacked, it also intentionally or unintentionally swept its tail towards the demon monks. At this time, whether it was Su Jian, Zesu, or other Shushan monks, the attack would suddenly and subtly stop. The demon monks only defended but did not fight back. They knew that the monster was mainly attacking Shushan, so they often blocked the damage for the other side and intercepted the attacks from Shushan. Such tactical operations were naturally from the hands of Wei Dongliu, who stayed outside. Jianglin had already led the team in at the first moment, and it was unknown what treasures they had looted at this time. Su Jian's face became more and more gloomy, and he continued to pinch his sword formula, launching a more fierce attack. Go! Wei Dongliu suddenly ordered. The demon monks did not hesitate and quickly retreated to the outside of the hall. The enemy troops were divided into two groups, and the Shushan monks were suddenly at a loss. Kill the monster first, or chase the demon monks first. Continue to attack. Su Jian ordered again. So everyone ignored the demon monks who were evacuating, and just focused on attacking the monster. Without the demon monks to harass, the monster finally collapsed and screamed, "No, it's impossible. I'm the heir of the Chuanwu bloodline. I'm a noble Chuanwu clan." Although the lines are cliched, they are full of emotions. Although it is a hoarse roar, it sounds heartbreaking, and people can't help but empathize. Unfortunately, the Shushan monks were a bunch of reckless men who could not empathize with others. They ignored the monster's cries and howled indifferently, and nailed it to death on the spot. Chase. Su Jian didn't care much. The wave of demon monks in front rushed in, and he didn't know what treasures they had taken away. Others can be given up, but the Yunweng sword box must not be lost. So the Shushan monks united their swords and crossed the monster's body and killed into the back hall. In the back hall, unlike the spacious and grand main hall outside, many corridors were built very narrow, and several places only allowed adults to pass by bending over, which was obviously the style of the Snape clan. The Shushan monks didn't care much, and directly destroyed the porch and broke into it. Some even used the sword method to punch a huge hole in the wall, regardless of how the terrain was designed, and just went straight forward. Under the completely unreasonable and brutal sweep of the Shushan sword immortals, the demons who had tried to hide soon had nowhere to hide. Swords flashed, blood and flesh flew everywhere. There were many demon monks being killed by Shushan. Of course, there were also a few demon monks who tried to ambush the Shushan sword immortals. However, they had rich combat experience and were outnumbered. They soon stabilized their position and fought back. Ling Yunpo sighed. Wouldn't it be better to leave earlier? Why do you have to stay here? Just to get more treasures? People die for money, and birds die for food. This is true. He was thinking absent-mindedly, and suddenly he heard the Kunlun mirror warning. Behind you. Be careful. As soon as he heard the two words behind him, Ling Yunpo immediately used the dividing cloud back you a step and quickly left the place. However, the opponent's attack was like a shadow. Although it was silent and could not be detected, the Kunlun mirror had already used its scanning ability to lock the opponent's position firmly and kept it in a state of presentation at all times. It's behind me. Ling Yunpo's mind moved slightly, and suddenly he held the Qinshuming sword and slashed towards the back. The sword blade passed through the opponent's body, but it seemed to split the clouds. The opponent rushed over like a dark cloud, and instantly merged into Ling Yunpo's body and broke into his sea of consciousness. Get out! Kunlun Jing shouted, and Ling Yunpo felt a bright light in his mind, and then something was shaken out of his body. Jiangli regrouped in front of him, looked at Ling Yunpo hatefully, and then ignored the attacks of the Shushan sword immortals around him, spun his body, and cleverly disappeared from the spot. Chapter 842. This demonic cult has produced another immortal. Jiangli disappeared in an instant, which made the surrounding Shushan swordsmen startled. With their experience, they couldn't tell what tricks the other party used. It was definitely not a low-level magic like invisibility, but a high-level method that even the divine consciousness could not scan and locate. In an instant, the witch appeared behind Ling Yunpo silently again and pounced on his back again. After the failure of the last invasion of the body, Jianglin also knew that this person had a rare treasure to protect his body, and the invasion of the demon's flesh would not work, so this time he used the demon's blood-sucking method. As long as he gently sucked at the target, he could mobilize the blood in the body and get out of the body, sucking it into the demon's stomach for rapid digestion. But Ling Yunpo had a natural sword bone, and he had a mutual induction with the Qinshuming sword. How could the Suming sword let the sword master fall so easily? So he didn't remind him at the moment. When the blood in Ling Yunpo's body surged and was about to break out of the body, it suddenly vibrated, causing Ling Yunpo's sword bone to ring, and retracted the blood that was about to break out of the body. Jianglin was halfway through sucking blood, but suddenly there was a stronger suction force from the opposite side, almost making her vomit it out. She quickly interrupted the blood-sucking technique, and her throat felt sweet, and she was attacked by the technique. Although the damage from the backlash was just a drizzle for the Great Freedom Demon, it was mainly because she lost face, since she came to the world where had she suffered such a big loss. So the witch immediately activated the Heavenly Demon Wonderful Sound technique and screamed loudly. All the Shushan monks present, regardless of their cultivation level, suddenly had splitting headaches and could not control their body movements. Although Sujian and Denzisu were also affected, they were both quick to react. They took advantage of their bodies not being completely out of control. One used swordsmanship and the other used Taoism, and attacked Jianglin at the same time, trying to obstruct her spell. With the high level of the Great Freedom Demon, of course, he would not be disturbed by such a low-level attack of the nascent Soul Golden Core. Jianglin's figure suddenly became ethereal, and all the attacks passed through her body, while the screaming sound that made people unable to control their spirits never stopped for a while. Then, Ling Yunpo suddenly appeared behind her. "It's so noisy," he complained, and the Qin's human sword quickly slashed through Jianglin's body. The secret method that could not even leave a scar on the attack of the nascent soul realm was almost instantly cut open by the Qin key of the human sword. Jianglin's body suddenly exploded and dispersed, turning into a thick and swirling black mist. The dark purple Qin key could be seen in it, as clear as milk dripped into ink. The black mist quickly dispersed, and then recondensed outside. The dark purple Qin key in it had been forcibly faded, and the black mist itself became much darker and sparser, a bit like the feeling of a gecko's tail being cut off. The black mist only had time to condense into the witch's head, and cast a resentful look at Ling Yunpo, and then disappeared with a whistle. After watching the witch flee, the Shushan Sword Immortals at the scene finally recovered from the torture of the phantom sound. "What kind of demon is that?" a Shushan elder asked in a trembling voice. "When did the demon sect produce such a terrible immortal?" No one answered this question, and no one questioned the other party's realm. He could ignore the attacks of several Yuning elders, and even the head of the sect Sujin could not do anything to him. If he was not at the immortal level, what realm could he be at? If it were not for the presence of the Qin Sword Master, who used the rank of the Qin's human sword to force him back, everyone would probably be wiped out here this time. In the past history, when encountering immortals from the enemy camp without the presence of immortals, the team would lose at least half of its members. If the escape secret technique was not powerful enough, it was also common for everyone to die. It was just a secret realm, why would the other party even send out immortals? Everyone turned their eyes to Sujian, waiting for the master to make the final decision. The actual combat power displayed by the demon cult at this time has far exceeded Shushan's previous estimation. If they continue to stay in this secret realm, the risk is already too high to be estimated. But if they evacuate at this point, what about the Yunweng sword box that they have not yet obtained? The peak masters and elders who accompanied them this time also saw that the opponent's strength was indeed unfathomable. It was just because war's magic power was restrained by the Qin key of the Qin's human sword, and the opponent was too arrogant and thought he could do whatever he wanted, so he was hit and injured. But what if the opponent uses elixirs to recover from his injuries and comes to attack again? What if he hides in the dark and continues to attack? What if he calls friends and asks another immortal to come? Everyone actually has a little bad idea that this place cannot be left for long, but no matter what, no one wants to be the first to speak. After all, the Shushan Sword Immortals are proud and unyielding. If someone else takes the initiative to suggest evacuation, you can follow suit. But if you take the initiative to say that you can escape, you were afraid of being laughed at as a coward, and it will be difficult to fight back if it is brought up later, which makes you feel very aggrieved. At this time, the sect master usually has to come out to consider the overall situation and say some nonsense like although it will damage the reputation of the sect, safety is still the most important thing now, and everyone will take advantage of the situation to express their unwillingness, anger, and willingness to fight to death. But since the master has spoken, no one dares to disobey, and then quickly obey the order to exit the secret realm. But Sujian is also a proud person, and this personality trait is even more prominent than other Shushan Sword Immortals. At this time, the thought that kept lingering in his mind was although the opponent may be a fairy level, what can a fairy level do? He was still injured by my disciple. If the follow-up response is appropriate, it seems that this immortal can be killed, master. Zisu finally couldn't bear it anymore and said in a deep voice, whether to leave or stay, there must be a reason. She said passionately and quickly gave Ling Yunpo beside her a look. Ling Yunpo also knew that he must not hesitate at this time, and immediately echoed. Since the immortals have intervened this time, we should go back and report to the immortals immediately, and then make plans. The overall situation is important, and the seniors must not act rashly. The peak masters and elders heard this and were also deeply moved. The IQ and speech level of this King Feng's Henrum are indeed not comparable to his senior sister and master. Look. It's not you can only evacuate if you can't win, but you must go back and report to the headmaster quickly. This is not fleeing in panic, but you must put the overall situation first. So everyone started to agree. Yes, although we are not afraid of the demon cult, we have to prioritize things. Another immortal from the demon cult has appeared. We must report it to the sect immediately without delay. Not getting the Yunmeng sword box is a small matter, but not letting the demon cult succeed is a big matter. Su Jian was speechless after hearing this, but he also saw that people's hearts were in turmoil at this time, and it was meaningless to insist on staying. Let's sort out the gains from the battlefield. He could only sigh and say, after half an incense stick, we will return to Shushan. Chapter 843 Wei Dongliu's reasoning. I know. Long-browed immortal sighed. After returning to Shushan, Su Jian reported the situation to Long-browed immortal. After Long-browed immortal knew about it, on the one hand, he regretted not following, and on the other hand, he felt that the situation was a bit serious. The world of cultivation is now a battle between good and evil, and the strength of the two camps is generally stable. In terms of the number of immortals, the six paths have a slight advantage. But in terms of single combat and overall combat power, the righteous side is better. In fact, this situation is a battle of ideas between the two sides. The three pure ones emphasize intensive cultivation and strictly control the quality of disciples at the entry stage, preferring to have fewer than fewer. While the six paths are survival of the fittest, first directly increase the number, and then let them roll inward like crazy to select the elites. The two methods are indistinguishable, which shows that the orthodox disciples have better talents, and the number of demon disciples is larger. As they gradually go from foundation building to golden elixir, primordial infant, and finally ascend to immortality, the overall strength of the immortals on both sides is roughly balanced. This balance is both stable and fragile. It will remain stable for hundreds or thousands of years. After all, it is too difficult to produce an immortal, but the weakness is that if one side has one more immortal, the balance of victory or defeat in the war will tilt. Now that the demon cult has produced such an immortal, how can the three pure ones not be alarmed? If the failure to obtain the Yunmeng sword box only limited the strength of the Qin sword master, then the demon cult has produced another immortal, which is a major event related to the survival of the three pure ones. Therefore, the long eyebrow immortal did not care about anything else and hurriedly contacted the Kisun immortal and the Wangxiang immortal to arrange a time for a gathering. Of course, before that, it is also necessary to comfort the immortal King Feng. After all, whether it is the long eyebrow immortal or Su Jian, Ling Yunpo is the most uncomfortable in this matter. I thought I could control the Qin's human sword in advance, but because of the demon cult's interference, the treasure was lost. How can I not feel uncomfortable? Of course, Ling Yunpo couldn't say I wish I could hide my weakness, so he showed his unyielding belief of although I am disappointed, I am still firm and tenacious, which made Su Jian and Changmei Jianren admire him more and more, and the synchronization value also increased. After leaving the demon-locking tower, Ling Yunpo was dragged by Anzisu to drink again. To put it bluntly, the Yunmeng sword box is just an external object. In the wine, Anzisu comforted him, it's good to have it, but there's no need to be too depressed if you don't have it. After all, what we sword immortals really rely on is our own strength. Indeed. Ling Yunpo drank a sip of wine sullenly, and said with a forced smile, now that master has come out of retreat, senior sister, you can't hold back when you teach me in the future. Look at what you said, senior sister, when have I ever held back? Anzisu said angrily, and poured wine for Ling Yunpo again. The two sat and drank for a while, and Anzisu frowned again and said, the devil, why do I look like I've seen him before? Ling Yunpo was immediately shocked. When Jian Gleam attacked and assassinated him, his whole body was shrouded in thick black fog, and his true face could not be seen. He knew that the person hidden in the black fog was Jian Gniangzi because he hid the scanning function, but how did senior sister know it? No way. He said calmly, the other party's cultivation level is too high, how could senior sister recognize it in advance? I don't know. Anzisu hesitated and shook his head, maybe it's my illusion, anyway, it's a very disgusting horror. After drinking with Anzisu, Ling Yunpo returned to King Luo Peak and started to read the file. Coming to Wei Dongliu, as the six paths gave their own answers, the elite monks who went on the expedition to Jingzhou were quickly organized. The leader was Wei Dongliu, his deputy Jian Glin, and another deputy from the Inglito, called Yulan Zhenren. Although the Taoist name sounds very feminine, it is undoubtedly a male Zhenren. I have long heard of the great name of Alliance Leader Wei. True Manuel complimented, I have long heard from True Manly Hanshin that Alliance Leader Wei is extremely talented and wise. Now we have to compete with the elite of Shushan, so I will trouble you to command us. You're welcome. Wei Dongliu did not say much, but just asked, I wonder what your sect's expected goal is this time? Expected goal? True Manuel was slightly startled, and then replied, of course, it is mainly to prevent Shushan from obtaining the Yunweng sword box. In addition, if we can plunder some treasures, it will be even better. Jiangling asked in an ambiguous tone. That's natural. True Manuel smiled casually, you should think so too. In that case, in order to maximize the harvest as much as possible. Wei Dongliu said in a deep voice, everyone should take what they need from this trip first, and then distribute it uniformly after the end. This request is somewhat unreasonable. After all, in the world of cultivation, if multiple people cooperate to explore the secret realm, whoever gets it often gets it. If there is dissatisfaction, then naturally they can only fight. However, after everyone thought about it carefully, they could understand it. This trip is not purely for exploration, but to compete with Shushan. If we fight for treasures before we even face Shushan, what kind of thing is that? Reason is reason, and if someone else makes this suggestion, it will definitely not convince the crowd. However, Wei Dongliu has a glorious command record after all, and the major sects are very satisfied with him. Before leaving, they repeatedly told everyone to follow their orders. Therefore, although the people who came this time were all proud of each sect and were arrogant, they still acquiesced to Wei Dongliu's proposal when their interests were not directly damaged. Let's go. Wei Dongliu waved his hand and took the lead in flying his sword. Everyone soon followed and flew from Watai Mountain to Jinbei. Wei Dongliu silently calculated the time and knew that he should be ahead of Shushan for about half a day. In other words, there should be something in the secret realm that slowed down the actions of himself and others. Thinking of the situation that Shushan and others had a smooth journey after entering the secret realm, Wei Dongliu had roughly guessed it. When they arrived at the Jinbei plain, they heard Xinren Yulan say, our spies heard from Shushan that the entrance to the secret realm should be near a river, but we don't know where exactly. Yeah. Wei Dongliu nodded slightly and said, it's quite simple to guess this clue. The Yunmeng's kingdom's secret realm, since it has not been discovered by any sect for so many years, it means that there must be few people wandering around. Otherwise, with so many people accidentally entering, the existence of the secret realm itself would be difficult to keep secret. What we are looking for is a river that few people have set foot in. But if no one has set foot in it at all, Shushan should not be able to get the news. Jiangli asked curiously. That's right. Wei Dongliu nodded and said, since Shushan can get clues, it means that someone has come into contact with this secret realm. A few people have come into contact with the secret realm, but the sects that practice cultivation have not discovered it. Considering the population density of the Jinbei plain, I guess it is likely that the locals know about this river, but for some reason they deliberately avoid it and don't get involved. The 6 paths monks came to the conclusion after hearing Wei Dongliu's few words, and they all showed surprise. The update time has been very unstable recently, mainly because of the writing problem, which is very painful. The main line has actually been designed properly, but the various events that need to be interspersed in between need to be sorted out repeatedly, and several of the determined events have been overturned by me. In addition, the manuscripts of the new book have also begun to be accumulated, and now it is equivalent to opening 2 books at the same time, which is very painful, book friends. Chapter 844. Rob. Many times, people don't care about the rigor of the reasoning process, the most important thing is whether the result is correct. For example, when Kao was preparing for the Battle of Guandu, his advisor Duo Jie offered a theory of 10 wins and 10 losses. At first glance, each of them made sense, but there was no specific proof of truth or falsehood. It's just that Kao needed this kind of statement to boost morale, and the generals also needed to inspire confidence, so they chose not to question it. Similarly, Wei Dongliu's analysis is all in my opinion, but in fact lacks sufficient supporting arguments. But everyone didn't have any clues, and now that the leader has an idea, it might as well try it. In Wei Dongliu's view, his reputation in the 6 paths has undoubtedly reached the point of going with the flow, that is, the monks of various sects did not resist his command, cooperated very well, and would not think about whether it was beneficial to themselves. Everyone arrived at the Jinbei plain and then quickly dispersed to search for clues. Not long after, they found the river where Shushan was located. Since Lin Yunbo had already found a key statue to enter the secret realm, Wei Dongliu was too lazy to act and scanned the location of the statue directly. Well, no. Wei Dongliu was stunned at first, and then reacted quickly. In other words, the statue was not originally at the bottom of the river. He pondered for a moment, then called Jiang Niangzi and Yulanzhenren to his side and described the appearance of the statue. What is the function of this statue? Yulanzhenren asked. If I guess correctly, it is the key to entering Yunmengzagyo. Wei Dongliu replied. So why is it a statue? Yulanzhenren was puzzled, but seeing that Jiang Lin had no questions, if he was the only one who didn't know the good and the bad and continued to ask, it would make him, the deputy, look like an idiot. So he also called the many people in his charge and explained. We need to find a statue, about the size of a palm, with a third eye on the forehead, a green face and fangs, and an abnormally ferocious appearance. When they heard that it was Wei Dongliu's intention, the Ingido people had no doubts, but quickly dispersed to look for clues, which made Yulanzhenren feel more and more uneasy. I can't be the only one who doesn't know why I'm looking for this statue, right? Thinking of this, he hurriedly put on a calm and unfathomable expression, as if he had seen through everything. At about dusk, there was finally a result. A cultivator disguised himself as a mortal businessman and went to a nearby village to inquire. As a result, a villager provided a clue, saying that he had seen a similar statue in a deserted land temple. The cultivator did not dare to neglect it. After verifying it in the land temple, he hurried back to report to his superiors. Wei Dongliu led everyone to the mountain temple. The mountain temple is hidden in a mountain to the north of this place, behind a stream waterfall. Everyone used magic to remove the vines, and saw that there was no mountain temple, it was clearly just a simple cave. Perhaps some passers-by had come in to take shelter from the rain. The cave was covered with dirty sheepskin mats, burnt firewood, and empty bamboo baskets. Deeper in the cave, near the pile of rotten wood and rubble, there was a small statue lying on the ground. It was the statue that Ling Yunpo had seen before. Wei Dongliu took the statue away, came to the river again, handed it to Jiang Li and said in an ambiguous way, Madam, inject your 7 emotions and 6 desires into it. Jiang Li immediately cast a spell and did as he was told. Sure enough, a purple light flashed in the eyes of the statue, and a suction force appeared out of thin air, trying to pull everyone to another world. Soon, the 6-path cultivators were already in the Yunmeng's kingdom. Before everyone could react, they heard a horrified and sharp cry that almost penetrated the entire sky. Then, from the opposite rainforest, a large number of demons and monsters came out. Wei Dongliu looked carefully and recognized that the other side was full of snakes, insects, rats, and ants. Even in the Donghuan demon realm, they were the lowest bloodliner group. There was no need to command them at the moment. Many cultivators used their magic skills to resist the attack of these snakes, insects, rats, and ants. Although there were many on the other side, their ranks did not seem to be very high. There were only 30 or 40 who had transformed into a pill, and there were only 5 or 6 demon kings in the cave realm, which made Liu Zhou feel relieved. The two sides fought fiercely for about an incense stick of time. The demons had been defeated and retreated to the north, leaving only the messy corpses on the ground, gradually sinking into the mud underground. Leader, capture live one. Zhenren Yulan asked for instructions and asked his men to bring the little demon up. The snake demon was about to form a pill, and its body shape was no different from that of humans, but there were still scales on its face. Why did you attack us? Wei Dongliu asked indifferently. The snake demon was startled at first, then slowly said, Master Bash said that any human who invades Yunmeng's will be killed without mercy. Wei Dongliu waved his hand, and True Man Yulan asked his men to drag him down to search his soul. After a while, they finally got most of the information about Yunmeng's. It turned out that Yunmeng's was indeed built by the Chuan clan in the past. There were 2 tribes, Jialong and Chuangui, living here, like a paradise, avoiding the suppression of the outside human race. But later, almost during the period of Chanji, as Yunmeng's investigation and understanding of the outside world gradually deepened, there were also differences of opinion within it. Jialong insisted on isolationism and believed that the existence of Yunmeng's must not be known to the outside world. But many cultivators of the Chuangui clan felt that the demons should help each other and could take in some demons persecuted by the human race to Yunmeng's to reproduce. The demons should help the demons. There is no need to say more about the story after that. A large number of dragons who could not accept this left, and the remaining ones were unable to compete with the black turtle, so Yunmeng's country began to secretly immigrate from the outside world. Because among the monsters, the higher the bloodliner rank, the lower the reproduction ability. Therefore, as the years passed, the population proportion of the Chuan clan became more and more diluted, and the number of various snakes, insects, rats and ants increased greatly, and the overall strength comparison between the main body and the minority races also changed from a huge disparity to a balance of power. During this period, some changes occurred one after another. For example, reformists appeared among the dragons and black turtles, attempting to make the Chuan clan great again, and even radicals proposed to restore the bloodline system and slavery, etc., but because the Chuan clan itself was no longer dominant, it ended up in vain. Until about 3,600 years ago, the last dragon clan also died due to failure to cross the calamity, so the power of Yunweng's country fell into the hands of the Bash clan. Everyone understood the situation clearly and knew that now in Yunweng's country, there was really no high-level monster clan with a strong bloodliner. Considering the various magical weapons, elixirs, scriptures and other abundant resources left by the Chuan clan in the past, it is like a piece of unguarded fat meat is already in front of them, waiting for everyone to pick up their chopsticks. So Wei Dongliu pretended to think for a moment under the expectant gaze of everyone, nodded and said, "Before Shushan finds this place, you should act quickly. Grab." Chapter 845 I'm heard. In Yunweng's country, a brutal massacre soon broke out. These snakes, insects, rats, ants and small demons soon realized the horror of the human race, which was completely different from the Chuan clan that once ruled them. The Chuan clan thought about domination and exploitation, so they tolerated their growth and played games with them, so that in the end, they declined and died first. The human race only wanted to kill all the demons, and had no intention of reasoning with them, so that the tricks they usually used to deal with Chuan were completely useless at this time. As the number of casualties increased, the demons began to get nervous. In the temple, demons kept finding the current patriarch, Bash, and asked him to arrange an evacuation plan as soon as possible. Everyone had completely lost confidence in how to deal with the invading human race. Bash just said nothing about the noise of the demons and continued to deal with the affairs at hand. He knew that if he gave up resistance and chose to escape, the human race would most likely be wiped out here. Even if a few could escape, what would it matter? He had to find a way to kill them back. He recently studied the secrets of the Chuan clan, and found clues to a forbidden blood fusion spell. As we all know, the Jielong clan has done a lot of research on the blood of the demon clan, and the embarrassing situation of Yunweng's state has led them to study how to make the Jielong clan obtain the high fertility of the low-level demon clan while ensuring the blood rank. The final result is somewhat embarrassing. It is basically impossible to let the high-level demon clan have more children, and the strong strength of the individual will greatly prolong the mother's gestation time and increase the mother's gestation cost. But if the low-level demon clan is fused with the blood of the high-level demon clan, its high fertility can be temporarily used to give birth to more high-level demon clan offspring in a short period of time. Simply put, it is to use the more fertile demon clans such as snakes, insects, rats and ants as breeding machines for Jielong and Quangui. This experiment was finally sealed because some monks of the clan believed that the Jielong hatched from the snake eggs would be tainted by the mother's blood, but in Bash's opinion, what if it is done the other way round? Can he make his bloodline rank further and move towards the level of Jielong and Quangui? In normal times, he would definitely use a large number of individuals for preliminary experiments. But now that the human race is invaded, Yunweng's country is in danger. If he doesn't take a risk, once the human race completely breaks through the Chuan temple, then the last chance of a comeback will be gone. The materials for bloodline fusion have been prepared. They come from the clan libraries of Jielong and Quangui. It is said that they are the remaining flesh and blood of two ancestors. In terms of success rate, of course, it is better to fuse the Jielong bloodliner, which is closer to the Snake clan. But the strength of the invading human race is too strong. Without the defense ability of the Quangui clan, the hope of survival is not great if only the Jielong bloodliner is fused. If you want to take risks, you still have to bet heavily. Wei Dongliu led his men to the north to kill and soon arrived at the Chuan temple. The temple was tightly protected by a protected formation. Ordinary means of attack could not break through the barrier. This time, everyone did not bring a formation master, so they could only stare blankly at the surroundings. Does anyone know a little about formation? True person Yulan refused to give up and continued to ask everyone. No one answered. Formation is a tedious and boring thing. It requires a certain talent and persistent research. Unless you are really interested in this aspect, you will not touch it. No more? True person Yulan was still asking, only to hear Wei Dongliu suddenly say, "Let me do it. My husband does have some research on formation." Jianglin smiled beside him. In the past, in the hinterland of shipping mounting, Wei Dongliu was able to set up a maze to protect the station by himself, so that Witch Jing could not get out at all. Now, judging by the knowledge of the Great Freedom Demon, she still believes that the attainments of this old thief Wei information are not simple. True person Yulan has no objection. So everyone watched Wei Dongliu come to the outer wall of the Chuan temple, like a tourist visiting a scenic spot, and watched leisurely with his hands behind his back. Wei Dongliu looked carefully, and it was true. Although the formation was intact on the outside, many of the notes inside were rotten, indicating that no one had maintained it for a long time. It seems that the already declining Chuan clan is not stupid enough to teach everything to outsiders. Of course, it may be that the Taoism is simply cut off, which is very common in the world of cultivation. If the formation is intact and there are special formation masters to maintain it, even with Wei Dongliu's Jindan realm, he will definitely be helpless. As for now, it can only be said that it takes no effort to break the formation. He pinched the sword formula with one hand, and the Wongsai Bangzhuxian sword soared into the sky, quickly pierced into the barrier of the sect protection formation, and soon tore a hole. Although the hole was fleeting, 3 golden lights flashed like lightning, quickly passing through the hole and rushing into the sect protection formation. The 6 path monks behind watched silently, thinking that this was not the way of formation. It was clearly a violent crack. 300 poison gold and silkworms rushed into the formation, and soon followed the scanning direction of Wei Dongliu, rushing to the north, southeast, and southwest. In the 3 directions of the temple pavilions, the formation tripods of the sect protection formation were placed respectively, but now there was no little demon who knew how to preside over the formation. They were pounced on by the 300 poison gold and silkworms, and then bit madly. Not long after, all the tripods were destroyed, and the sect protection formation outside also shattered and disappeared. The 6 path monks cheered immediately. Although they didn't understand the principle, the formation was cracked by Wei Mengzhu anyway. So everyone rushed into the temple enthusiastically, cutting melons and vegetables along the way, destroying withered and rotten, and all kinds of demons were lying dead all over the ground. In the main hall of the temple, Bash listened silently to the military information of the enemy's attack on the temple, and finally made the final decision. He dismissed the outsiders and went around to the back of the Chuan statue and opened the secret door on its back. This statue is also a rare treasure. It is said that it is made of the remains of the 2 ancestors of the past, Jialong and Chuan, and is used as a ring for the Chuan clan to enforce the clan rules. It only needs to be activated, and this rare treasure will automatically punish the sinners who violate the clan rules. What the Bash wants to use is the clan rule that fighting is not allowed in the ancestral hall. If the human race cannot fight here, they can only watch him complete the blood transformation and fusion. Almost at the same time as the statue was activated, Jianglin had already rushed into the main hall first. The Great Freedom Demon swept his consciousness and quickly pounced on the Chuan statue. The next second, he was hit by the tail shadow of the Jialong that appeared out of thin air, as if playing baseball. The tail shadow is also composed of pure energy, so it can hurt the Great Freedom Demon without a physical body. The latter was caught off guard and flew backwards, just in the arms of Wei Dongliu, who rushed over. "What's wrong?" Wei Dongliu asked in surprise. "My husband, I'm hurt." Jing Monu immediately covered her chest with both hands, pretending to hold her heart, and said pitifully, "Wei Dongliu, this lady, even so many peak masters and elders of Shushan can't do anything to you, how could you be injured?" He looked at the Chuan statue in front of him again, thinking that this statue has strong defense, and the attack is automatically triggered, and it does not need to provide true energy. It is a good magic weapon to deal with the heavenly tribulation. When the Shushan monks arrive later, I have to ask my wife to help me get it before leaving. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 846. No Yunmeng Sword Box. Soon, the Shushan people also suddenly appeared from outside, just like in the historical line. The people at the 6 paths were immediately facing a great enemy, but since Leader Wei had not given any orders, they could only be ready to fight the enemy and protect themselves at any time. When Witch Jing saw the arrival of Shushan and others, she rolled her eyes and deliberately said some provocative words to lure the Shushan head Su Jian to take action. As expected, he was directly hit by the tail of the dragon, and his body shook and was seriously injured. Seeing Nzisu gritting his teeth, Wei Dongliu just watched coldly, thinking that even Su Jin could be beaten like this. If he got this rare treasure in his hands, he would put one in the time of tribulation and use it specifically to fight the tribulation thunder. The key is that he doesn't have to spend his true essence. Isn't it wonderful? He then whispered to Jian Glean. The shadow of the dragon's tail is caused by a demon hiding in the statue, which stimulated and activated the statue. Yes. As a great free demon, Jian Glean could of course sense that the statue was different, so she nodded and said, "This statue is interesting, it should be made from the remains of the demon ancestor." Her voice paused for a moment, and then said, "If Shushan and others don't come, we can directly attack it, which is enough to withstand a counterattack and forcibly break the statue." But now Shushan's people arrived next to them. If they forcibly attack the demon in the statue, it will undoubtedly be a waste of time for others to make wedding clothes, allowing Shushan to kill them. As cunning as Jiang Monu and as smart as Wei Laozi, it is naturally impossible for them to do such a stupid thing. In my opinion, the demon is unlikely to sit there and wait for death. It should be waiting for some opportunity. Wei Dongliu continued, "If something unexpected happens later, you can lead your men to forcefully break in and search for treasures. I will lead people outside to contain Shushan as much as possible. Then please ask my husband to help me." Jiang Mo Envy was full of confidence. "If there is a chance, you can also take this treasure for me." Wei Dongliu said, "This statue magic weapon has two cores, one is the scales 7 inches below the top of the dragon, and the other is the armor in the center of the tortoise shell. Apart from these two, the rest are useless. Husband wants this thing." Jiang Mo Envy was a little surprised. In her opinion, this statue is just a tortoise shell magic weapon. Apart from drilling into it to activate it and repel attacks from the outside, there is nothing worth paying too much attention to. But since my husband wants it, it would be fine to bring it over to him to play with it. Everyone in the audience stared at the statue. On the one hand, they could see that it was undergoing some bad changes. On the other hand, if they attacked, they would be counterattacked. Moreover, there were enemies surrounding them. For a while, they could only stand still and could not move. Wei Dongliu scanned silently and saw that the monster inside was undergoing strange flesh and blood transformation. The domineering claws of the dragon grew under their scales, and a disc began to bulge on the back, and gradually the majestic pattern of the black turtle emerged. To a certain extent, it is becoming more and more like the domineering and majestic Chuan statue where it lives. But the problem is that the Chuan statue is two monsters. If you, a monster, want to become the combination of two monsters, it will neither be domineering nor majestic, and it will only make people want to vomit. At the same time, the snake monster that is transforming is still slowly absorbing the blood power in the Chuan statue. To be honest, let alone the snake monster mutating into Chuan, even if it turns into a Godzilla, Wei Dongliu will not frown at all. The realm of cultivation is here, what's the point of just improving the bloodline a rank? Can he defeat so many of us? But the other party is absorbing the blood power inside the remains of the statue, which is the essence of this magic weapon. Why do I need this magic weapon to survive the heavenly tribulation? There are many things that can survive the heavenly tribulation, but they basically consume the true essence of the caster, and every true essence during the tribulation is extremely precious, so a magic weapon like this that consumes the internal blood power and can resist external attacks for the caster is its most precious value. Seeing that the other party actually began to squander the essence of the magic weapon without thinking, Wei Dongliu couldn't bear it and shouted, "Now!" The 6 cultivators were already tense, and at this time, they heard the order from the leader Wei, regardless of the dragon's tail shadow, and directly bombarded the Chuan statue with the attack means in their hands. Strong attack. Although the bash was hiding inside the statue, it was not completely blind. Seeing that the human race had finally started to attack, it dared not continue to hide inside, so it quickly activated its magic to completely complete the last step of mutation, and then used its strength to break the Chuan statue, revealing its hideous and terrifying true body. Jiang Monu immediately led people to rush forward, aiming at the entrance to the back hall that was originally blocked by the Chuan statue and finally exposed at this time. Just as it passed the side of the monster and rushed through the fragments of the statue, the black mist around it hooked and rolled up, and took the 2 things in its hands, and then went to the back hall without looking back. The Shushan people were caught off guard and followed suit to attack the monster. Because the Sword Immortal's attack was too sharp, it immediately attracted most of the monster's attention. Wei Dongliu also deliberately ordered everyone to relax their offensive so that the monster could fight Shushan more, and even interfere from time to time, making the Shushan Sword Immortals very sick. When the monster was about to collapse, Wei Dongliu gave another order, and everyone hurriedly evacuated the Chuan temple, so as to prevent the Shushan side from killing the monster and then killing them together. After leaving the Chuan temple and evacuating the rainforest, Wei Dongliu ordered, "Go to the southern lakes and marshes for shelter first. Lead away." Zhenren Yulan asked, "Are you going to ambush the Shushan people who will come out later?" Wei Dongliu looked at him in confusion. On the opposite side of the headmaster Su Jian, the grass-cutting sword fairy Nzesu, the chin sword master Ling Yunpo, and a large number of peak masters and elders. Are we going to ambush them with our limited manpower, or to send them to the death? We will be responsible for the support later. Seeing that Zhenren Yulan still didn't understand, Wei Dongliu could only explain briefly. Zhenren Yulan finally remembered the difference in combat power between the two sides. In addition, the monk team on his side had been divided into two, and there was absolutely no reason to use half of the manpower to ambush the entire team on the opposite side, so he could only retreat in shame. Not long after, the 6 paths monks escaped from the temple one after another, saying that the Shushan roughnecks were killing people inside and they were no match for them. Fortunately, they had gained a huge advantage in advance, so almost all the 6 paths monks who escaped had their storage bags filled with various treasures. Master Yulan counted the harvest and made a list for Wei Dongliu to review. Wei Dongliu looked carefully. Although they were all fun things that could attract ordinary monks, with his current vision and experience, there were not many that he could like. Well, why was there no Yunmeng sword box? On the Shushan side, due to the existence of Ling Yunpo, it was confirmed that the Yunmeng sword box was definitely not obtained, so he originally thought that the 6 paths had succeeded. It seems that I can only wait until my wife returns before asking. Chapter 847. Unappreciative. Not long after, Jianglin finally returned. Although the demon lady was unscathed from head to toe, she looked quite embarrassed. Wei Dongliu immediately knew that she was injured by the Qin's human sword. Feeling guilty, he hurried over to ask about her well-being, and his face showed a look of concern and care. Seeing that her husband was so concerned about her, Jianglin was naturally very moved, thinking that her husband was not in vain. Wei Dongliu asked about the Yunmeng sword box again, and only heard Jiang the demon lady say, "Husband, I searched the entire back hall, not to mention the Yunmeng sword box, even the flying sword was not found. Could it be a mistake?" No Yunmeng sword box? Wei Dongliu pondered. This clue was provided by the contacts of the Long Eyebrow Immortal, and the other party seemed to have read it from ancient books, so it was indeed impossible to verify the authenticity in advance. However, Liu Duo's purpose was not to obtain the Yunmeng sword box, but to prevent Shushan from obtaining the Yunmeng sword box, so it was not considered that he had not achieved his goal. Take it. Jiang Monu took out 2 more objects and threw them to Wei Dongliu. Wei Dongliu took them and looked at them. One of them was a dragon scale, about the size of a palm, in the shape of a maple leaf, and the surface exuded a colorful and brilliant luster. His fingers carefully stroked the surface, and he could feel the fine lines engraved on it. It was the style of a talisman, and the effect was also very simple. After activating it, the blood power in it was consumed to generate a huge dragon tail shadow, which was drawn towards the enemy. In terms of attack power alone, it was far inferior to the Fanshan seal that Luo Yan had obtained. But this thing has the advantage of not needing to inject true essence, and it can be activated by itself, so the advantage is also obvious. The other thing is a black tortoise shell, which is much larger than the dragon scale, but the surface is grey. When the divine consciousness probes into it, it can discover the extremely majestic blood power. In other words, the so-called black tortoise statue only relies on the blood power in the tortoise's armor to provide energy, and then relies on the talismans and seals engraved on the dragon's scales to hurt people. A Jing. Wei Dongliu suddenly asked, "Do you think the principles of these 2 things are a bit similar to the description of the Yunmeng sword box?" The Yunmeng sword box says that the true essence inside the sword box is used to drive the flying sword, without consuming the user's true essence. If the sword box is replaced with armor, and the flying sword is replaced with tail shadow, there doesn't seem to be anything inconsistent. Maybe. Kunlun Mirror also thought about it. Then what are you going to do? Take it back and refine it again. Wei Dongliu replied, then prepare to cross the tribulation. Wei Dongliu has recently thought about the place to cross the tribulation and plans to choose the East Empire Demon Realm. The reason is simple. Ling Yunpo can no longer show off, otherwise he will have to take Qiu Changtian's survival position. Qiu Changtian and Wei Dongliu have been in the limelight recently and are facing the threat of potential hostile forces, so they are not the best candidates for the tribulation. The only choice is Luo Yan and Long Long. These two are relatively low-key and have little attention from the surroundings, so they can find a place to hide in tribulation. As for why Long Long was chosen instead of Luo Yan, it is mainly because Mishi's rank is much higher than that of the little fox, and this time she will inevitably disappear for a period of time to cross the tribulation, and it is much more difficult to fool the former than the latter. Although the Eastern Empire realm is in a state of war, if I want to cross the tribulation from the transformation realm to the cave origin realm, I think it is unlikely that the clan will force me to go to the battlefield and not let me cross the tribulation. Of course, before that, I have to refine the dragon scales and black tortoise shells again. Jin, read the file Luo Yan. Point 3. East China Sea, Pengliu King Temple. Character identity. Luo Yan. Mirror Flower Water Moon template is overwritten, and it is traveling through time and space. After returning to Pengliu Island, which he had not seen for a long time, Luo Yan discovered that there seemed to be some turmoil in Yu King Temple recently. After careful inquiry, he found out that it was because the Shenending recorded various secret methods of various schools of thought. Therefore, whether they were alchemists, talismans painters, or grass growers, almost all of them flocked to the headmaster, wanting to get some secret methods to enrich the Taoist tradition. But this Shenending was exchanged with Luo Yan by Wang Xiang Immortal for the Fanchen seal. How could he easily give away all the secret methods on it for free? It happened that the Watai Mountain Way Demon Head had reformed first, and Wang Xiang Immortal took the opportunity to announce that if you want the secret methods on the Ding, you can exchange them for the contribution of the sect. But how to calculate this sect contribution? The mortal life path in Watai Mountain has a very complete point contribution system. For example, if there are scattered cultivators invading the northern mountainous area, there will be corresponding contribution value assessments for dispersing, killing, or even capturing them alive, and the contribution value exchange for skills is also clearly marked. Wang Xiang Immortal, on the other hand, was in a good mood and said it casually, but everyone was so anxious that they could only bother the Chuandu sect master and ask how to calculate the specific sect contribution. As a result, the Chuandu sect master has been staying indoors recently, and there are still people queuing up in front of his residence to block the door. They are all disciples sent by the elders to guard it for 12 hours a day, and they must get the corresponding secret method before their competitors. Luo Yan didn't bother to care about the series of troubles caused by the Shenending that he had snatched back, and just concentrated on his treasury casting plan. Husband? Shili's voice came from outside the door. Are you there? Come in. I have some questions about the last sword-making technique that I want to discuss with you. Shili pushed the door open and saw the dragon scales and black tortoise shells on the table, and asked in surprise, "Where did you get them?" "A friend gave them to me," Luo Yan said casually. This is the bad thing about Miss Shi. She is too sensitive. If it were a junior sister or senior sister, she would not have noticed it the first time she came in. Oh. Shili nodded and said, "My husband plans to refine a magic weapon." "I guess so, but I haven't decided what to refine yet." Luo Yan thought that Shushan didn't see it, and which Jing naturally couldn't confess to Shili, so he said frankly, "I want to refine a magic weapon that will automatically trigger a counterattack when attacked by the outside world, and it doesn't need to consume the user's true essence. If so, I should cast a mirror," Shili said. "My wife is really a discerning person," Luo Yan praised, thinking, "Do I need you to tell me this? The scales and armor are all flat, how could I not think of casting a mirror-type magic weapon? Have you asked the third senior sister?" "No, I plan to study it myself this time," Shili said. "What's the use of my husband refining this magic weapon? Can't the third senior sister know?" She was suspicious, but soon realized that she had no evidence and shouldn't blindly suspect her husband, so she suppressed her doubts and smiled gently. "Is there anything I can help with?" Luo Yan asked in surprise. "Madam, you also know how to make mirrors?" Shili. Chapter 848 Message. The difficulty of making the device this time is how to sew the two together. The tortoise shell provides energy, and the dragon scales are responsible for output. Both are indispensable. But the problem is how to link the two together, and there can't be any problems. After all, this thing is used to survive the heavenly tribulation. Luo Yan thought patiently for a long time, and thought it would be better to make a two-sided mirror. Dig a hole of the right size on the back of the tortoise shell, and then embed the dragon scales into it, and finally combine the rooms of the two together again. Can this be combined? Use the scanning function to confirm the internal array structure of the two again, and you can find that they are almost completely different. To combine the two without any gaps is like embedding a mobile phone in a computer, and then operating the mobile phone on the computer to make a call. It is not impossible, but it is definitely not that simple. He was thinking hard and writing on the paper. Shirley sat beside him and watched quietly. Suddenly he asked, "Since you want to combine the two into one, why not add a middleware?" The so-called middleware is a structure similar to a transfer plug. It is generally used to connect two different magic weapons to each other. It is a niche method in casting. Why is it niche? Because the magic weapon made in the end is too ugly, just like the monster in Yuming's country before. The dragon does not look like a dragon, and the turtle does not look like a turtle. People want to vomit when they see it. Even if such a magic weapon meets the requirements of the customer, it will damage the face of the weapon maker when it is taken out. Luo Yan suddenly realized a problem, that is, these two magic weapons originally came from the Chuan statue. Then, could the Chuan statue itself be a middleware to connect the Chuan armor plate and the dragon's scales? Thinking of this, Luo Yan finally understood. If you use a middleware to connect, the final product must be stupid, big, black and rough, and not much smaller than the original Chuan statue. Whether it is a flying sword, a mirror, or a seal, most magic weapons must be light enough, otherwise they will fly slowly and fail to hit anyone, and the effect is naturally not worth mentioning. But there is a kind of magic weapon that does not need to be moved after it is set up. Dinky. What if the dragon scales and basalt armor pieces are made into the corresponding dinky? Anyway, the heavenly tribulation will not move, and then you just need to put the dinky on the ground. No matter how heavy it is, it will not be a problem. Giving up the original idea of making it into a mirror, Luo Yan immediately opened up the pattern completely and decided not to consider all kinds of restrictions. The functions must be complete and the effects must be strong. Of course, the most important thing is that it must be hard enough not to be broken by the heavenly tribulation. Writing, drawing, scribbling, Luo Yan worked attentively. Shirley beside him looked at it and thought, "Is your husband's drawing a fortress? What's wrong? Are you going to completely transform the Tiangong Fang?" "No, from your husband's design, the characteristics of defense and counterattack are almost ready to emerge. Tiangong Fang is inside the Yu King Temple in Penglai, so there is no need to add so many defensive designs separately. And these things are obviously not something that can be brought with you. So what is the situation that requires building such an inconvenient fortress to move?" A flash of inspiration flashed through Shirley's mind. "Crossing the tribulation, husband, have you started to plan for crossing the tribulation?" "Still not right. He is so lazy that he doesn't even want to do things for Tiangong Fang. How could he prepare for the heavenly tribulation that has not yet arrived? Unless he plans to cross the tribulation in the near future." After a series of conjectures and reasonings, Shirley felt that he was very close to the truth, and suddenly felt a little lost and uneasy. "So, my husband will soon become a Immortal Cultivator. Well, since he doesn't want to mention this to me, I think it's because he's afraid that I'll worry and be anxious. I have to improve my cultivation as soon as possible, and I can't drag my husband's feet." Thinking that Tiangong Fan can finally have a Immortal Cultivator, Shirley is also a little excited, so she simply postpones the work in the next few months as much as possible, and plans to concentrate on improving her cultivation progress. Of course, it is a foolish dream to want to upgrade quickly by practicing step by step and grinding. The only right way is to find a secret place, find adventures, and try your luck. Luo Yan spent a few days and finally designed a rough outline. Just as he was about to perfect it in detail, he suddenly heard his junior sister Shiking asking for a meeting outside. "Not good, senior brother Jinoon," she shouted outside the door in panic. "The affairs in the workshop are piled up like a mountain, and the third senior sister can't handle it. She's going crazy." Luo Yan didn't understand why, so he went out and followed Shiking to the back hall of Tiangong workshop. Then he found out that Shirley had asked for leave a few days ago for some reason and handed over the affairs of the workshop to the third senior sister Liang Grua. This was how it was done in the past, but Shirley usually returned the next day or the third day, but now he hasn't returned for several days. Liang Grua didn't know much about many affairs, so the work piled up more and more, and Luo Yan had to be called back to save the situation. Luo Yan was also a little puzzled after hearing this, wondering where on earth did his wife go. Forget it, she has great fortune and is protected by magic, so she probably won't have any problems. As for these matters, it seems that I am the only one who can do it. What kind of work is it? He picked up the documents on the table. Statistics of business accounts, handover of sales business, maintenance of raw material supply, and some daily affairs assigned by the sect. Liang Ruoho pointed to the pile of documents on the table. That's probably it. Luo Yan. I'll go get Lily back, he said helplessly with his hand on his forehead. After leaving Yu King Temple, Luo Yan began to feel troubled again. She left without even saying a word, so where should I start looking for her? Jin, where do you think Lily will go? Luo Yan subconsciously asked Kunlun Jing. I don't know. Kunlun Mirror shook his head and said, but given her personality, it's unlikely that she would leave without saying goodbye. She should leave a message to tell you where she went. That's true. Luo Yan thought for a moment, then ran to the gate of Yu King Temple, found the white jade puppet Nian who was guarding the gate, and asked it, did you see when Master Dongyu left Penglai? Master Dongyu left a message for you. Nian replied, she went to Walyu Island to explore the secrets. Oh? Luo Yan asked in surprise, why didn't you tell me earlier about such a big thing? Master Dongyu specifically instructed me. Nian continued, if you take the initiative to ask about her whereabouts, Nian will answer truthfully. If you don't ask, I won't mention it. Luo Yan was speechless when he heard this, and after a while he said, did she arrange it this way when she left before? So far, Master Dongyu has left you a message to tell you her specific whereabouts 33 times in the past. Nian replied, you didn't ask 32 times. Luo Yan was silent for a long time, and said, don't tell Master Dongyu about this. If she asks, just say I ask her every time. Chapter 849 Reliving the Old Dream. Walyu Island, located to the north of Penglai Island, is within the zone of cold weather, and birds from the northern polar regions often come here to spend the winter. After Luo Yan arrived at Walyu Island, he circled in the sky and saw that there were only grasslands and tundra mosses on the island, without any trees to cover it, and most places were visible. The only thing worth paying attention to was the snow peak in the center of the island. Shilui mentioned before that this peak is called Sage Peak. When she was in the foundation building stage, she was brought here by Elder Shiding and bathed in some kind of moral light, which increased her cultivation to the Wafu stage. Luo Yan stayed at the top of the peak for a while, but did not see any form of light. So he turned on the scanning state again and scanned the area around the peak carefully, but still did not find any clues. This is not right. Luo Yan and Kunlun Jing discussed, since Lily said she came to Walyu Island, she would definitely not go anywhere else. In other words, she must be somewhere here, entangled and unable to leave. Is there a possibility? Sumin Jian interrupted, she was ambushed by some six-part demon on the way here. It's unlikely. Luo Yan replied. Why? Because she can calculate. Sumin Jian was silent for a moment, thinking that he was really a fool. Indeed, with her ability to calculate, she would not forget to calculate the good and bad luck of the journey before leaving. Kunlun Jin, as an expert in this field, gave Luo Yan assurance, this kind of thing is very simple. Yuan-Shui, I think she should be somewhere here, and was suddenly drawn into the secret realm, so she lost contact. Yeah. Luo Yan thought to himself that Jing was smart, worthy at being able to transform. Although Sumin was one of the two swords of Xi, he won in terms of amazing martial arts, but his brain was not very useful. Seeing that Sumin Jian was silent again, he comforted her and said, it's okay, Sumin, you're already amazing to think of these things. Sumin Jian was secretly annoyed, thinking, are you comforting me or deliberately irritating me? However, since he was accidentally involved in the secret realm, there must be a trace to follow. Luo Yan continued to think, it's impossible that he was walking on the road and suddenly fell into the secret realm. That would be too outrageous. That's right. Kunlun Mirror echoed, if there is a trace to follow, the most likely place on this island to have something special is this Sage Peak. Except for the Sage Peak, the rest are low-lying grasslands, and there is obviously no difference. Luo Yan agreed. But we have scanned the Sage Peak and there is no problem. Kunlun Mirror pondered. Maybe it's the wrong time. Luo Yan suddenly had an idea. The Sage Peak with the moral flowing light and the Sage Peak without the flowing light are obviously different. I remember it too. Kunlun Mirror suddenly realized, since she Lily was brought here by her father, she directly encountered the Sage Peak bathed in the moral flowing light. Perhaps she had already noticed the existence of the entrance to the secret realm at the time, but because of her low cultivation, she didn't go in to explore. In that case, I can only wait for the moral flowing light to appear and see. Luo Yan sighed, if it is opened within a certain period, it's okay, but I'm afraid there is some triggering condition. What should I do? Why not go to the nearby area to ask around first? Kunlun Mirror suggested. Okay. Luo Yan went around the surrounding sea and finally met fishermen who went out to sea to fish. According to the fisherman, there are indeed colorful flowing lights in the sky above Uluyundo, but they will not appear until night. And there are some days of the month and some days of the month, and there is no pattern at all. After finding out everything, Luoyan returned to Ulu Island and sat in meditation at the top of St. Peak. His mind was a little vague. Luli, nothing should happen to her, right? Thinking back to the past, when he first joined Tiangong, the atmosphere in the workshop was indeed like a big family. Elder Shiding was a kind father to all the disciples, especially doting on Mishi, and Shilili was like a carefree child who never grew up, dragging Luoyan around to have fun. Who knew that one day, Elder Shiding suddenly died, and Mishi, who was like that, would never come back? Thinking about it carefully, if her husband could be more motivated and could carry Tiangong like Elder Shiding did, Shilili would not have to mature so quickly. Luoyan briefly reflected on himself in his heart inside secretly. It was not because he was too lazy, but mainly because Tiangong did not have an essence soul cultivator guarding it, which made Shilili's sense of security disappear too quickly. After I form my nascent soul, the situation in the workshop will also stabilize. Lily should be able to breathe a sigh of relief. Just thinking about this, I suddenly saw a colorful stream of light falling from the sky, like a goddess's ribbon, brilliant and dazzling, swaying and shining. Luoyan scanned clearly and saw that there was indeed a flash of spatial fluctuations in the colorful stream of light. He quickly found the Chinsuming sword and rushed towards the stream of light with the sword in one. Entering the stream of light, it was like falling into warm hot water, and the whole person felt like taking a bath in warm soup, which was very comfortable. However, for that cultivators in the Foundation establishment realm, this moral stream of light can also consolidate the foundation of Taoism and reduce the skills of hard cultivation, but Luoyan is now in the Golden Core realm, and it has almost no other effect except replenishing a little true essence. He quickly scanned the surroundings and found that there was a space crack dancing along the colorful stream of light, and it was also moving rapidly, without stopping for a moment. Without saying a word, Luoyan flew his sword straight into the space crack. After chasing for about half a quarter of an hour, he finally caught up with the rift and passed through it. As the world spun, Luoyan found himself back in Penglayu King Temple, in a lecture room, surrounded by monks who were concentrating on studying. Lecture room. As we all know, the disciples of Penglayu King Temple are also divided into outer sects and inner sects. Among them, outer sect disciples do not have a fixed master, and they need to listen to the elders' lectures every day. When Luoyan first entered Yu King Temple, he was also an outer sect disciple for a period of time. After being accepted as a disciple by Elder Shidin, he never went to the lecture room, but he didn't expect to relive the old days here, and suddenly a long-lost feeling of nostalgia arose in his heart. A Jing, is this an illusion, or a time jump? He hurriedly asked Kumlin Jing. Neither. Kumlin Jing was silent for a moment, and said, "This seems to be a state of mind." State of mind? Luoyan was surprised. State of mind, or a certain memory? Kumlin Jing said uncertainly, "If I'm right, you should be in someone's memory." Someone's memory? Luoyan was stunned when he heard it. The next second, he saw Mishi appear at the back door of the classroom and waved at him. "Luoyan, why are you still here?" She shouted impatiently, "Hurry up, father wants to see you." Chapter 850 How to Wake Up Someone Pretending to Sleep. Father. Luoyan showed a shocked expression. "Didn't your father die?" "Yes." Shilili said with a smile, "Father saw your entrance test and wanted to meet you." Luoyan. "So I haven't joined Tiangong yet, right?" He didn't say anything more to the other party, just asked Jing. "Is this a real person? Or an illusion? If it's just a fake Shilili generated by memory, then I'll be slapped in the face." "You, a fake, want to evoke my longing for my master?" "Real person." Kumlin Jing replied. "Real person?" Luoyan asked in surprise, "Is she under an illusion and can't extricate herself?" "I didn't see that." Luoyan immediately fell silent. Jing's words were still relatively tactful. She didn't see that Shilili was under an illusion. Doesn't that mean that Mishi is deliberately playing dumb? Since the lady wanted to play role-playing and relive the past, Luoyan could only nod and stand up. In the surprised, envious and jealous eyes of all the students, he followed Shilili out of the classroom. As soon as they left the classroom, Luoyan suddenly attacked and quickly took Shilili's hand, feeling the other's fingers tremble obviously. She was just surprised, but she didn't feel any panic or surprise. "You're really playing dumb. If you're really addicted to illusions and think of yourself as the Shilili of the past, you'll definitely jump up when a strange man holds your hand like this." Luo Yan was determined in his heart, but pretended not to know on the surface, and said, "Luli, your hands are so cold. If they are cold, don't hold them." She said coldly, and quickly pulled her hand back. "Your voice has changed too." Luo Yan reminded her, "Your original lively and lovely temperament is gone." Shili's body stiffened, and then slowly revealed a cute, playful, fake smile, baring her little tiger teeth, and said, "If you do this again, I will tell my father that you bullied me." Luo Yan. This is the second time he was speechless. Now it seems that although Miss Shu was not under an illusion, the situation seems to be more complicated than an illusion. She knows very well who she is, but because her father is not dead in this illusion, Miss Shu voluntarily chooses to indulge in it, even though she knows it is fake. People who pretend to sleep cannot be awakened. Shiluli, who is actively immersed in memories, can he still forcefully pull her ears and tell her to hurry up and go back with her husband after she is tired of playing? Luo Yan came to Tiangong Fang in deep thought, and saw Elder Shiding in the study room holding a paper and looking over, and asked, "Hey Luo Yan?" "Disciple is Luo Yan." Luo Yan hurriedly performed the ceremony of worshipping his master, but was lifted up by Elder Shiding. "Don't be in a hurry to worship your master, I still need to test you. I heard from Luli that you have the ability to remember everything you see." To reply to the senior, Luo Yan said respectfully, "Disciple has the ability to understand everything after hearing it, and remembering everything you see is just the foundation." "Okay then." Elder Shiding looked at Shiluli and signaled that she could go over to test the other party. In the original history, Shiluli did not believe that Luo Yan had this ability, so he quickly read a passage of the Dan Sutra, and Luo Yan answered fluently, obviously remembering and understanding it thoroughly the moment he heard the original text. But at this time, Shiluli just stared at him blankly, so that Elder Shiding had no idea what to do, so he asked a question himself. "I'll ask a question, you try to answer it. How should the scriptures in the book be interpreted?" He quickly read a passage of sword-making tips. How could this be difficult for Luo Yan? He answered fluently again. "Good. Very good." Elder Shiding laughed and clapped his hands. "If you are willing, you can become my Tiangong Fan disciple." So Luo Yan honestly performed the apprenticeship ceremony, and then was taken by Elder Shiding to meet his eldest brother Limishu, third sister Liang Drulhu, and fourth brother Shi Wenshi. "Why is there no second sister?" Luo Yan suddenly asked knowingly. "Your second sister failed to pass the tribulation before, and finally died." Elder Shiding replied. "Died?" Luo Yan was stunned, then he understood. It turned out that it was not just a memory. Shiluli could freely delete things from it according to her needs. Because the second sister Lady Kind was a traitor, Shiluli did not want her to appear in her memory, so the second sister here became fallen due to a heavenly calamity. And because of her unique meaning to Shiluli, she did not create a fake Luo Yan in her memory, but waited until she came to find her before arranging a scene for the two to meet for the first time. "So what is going on, my lady?" After the introduction, Elder Shiding asked Shiluli to take Luo Yan around the square. Leaving the study, Luo Yan finally couldn't help but said, "Wife, if I have done anything wrong, can we find a time to have a good discussion? I'm a little scared of you being so crazy." Shiluli was speechless after hearing this, and said after a while, "What are you talking about? Why don't I understand?" "So you don't deny the title of wife, right?" Luo Yan immediately hit the snake with a stick. "You really have retained your memory." Shiluli's face sank, showing an expression of "if so, then I will do as you wish," and said viciously, "Don't call me wife. Otherwise I will tell my father that you are frivolous and humiliating me." "But, wasn't it the master who betrothed you to me?" Luo Yan looked puzzled. Shiluli was speechless, thinking that he only had this intention when he was alive, but he didn't really say it out loud. Besides, after his father died, it was me who took the initiative to ask the Immortal to grant the marriage. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt a pain in her heart again, turned her head away and didn't speak. Seeing that she ignored him, Luo Yan had no choice but to pester her. "In that case, I will ask Master to marry you to me." After that, he turned around and left without hesitation. Shiluli hurried to pull him, but he pulled nothing. Luo Yan rushed into the study of Elder Shiding with a heroic spirit and shouted, "Master! Senior sister Lily and I are in love with each other, please marry senior sister to me." He shouted so loudly that the eldest, third and fourth senior brothers all heard it in their rooms and hurriedly stuck their heads out to see the gossip. Shili's cheeks flushed with shame, and she could only catch up with him in 2 steps. Luo Yan pushed open the door, but saw that the study was empty, and there was no sign of Elder Shiding at all. "Wait, I just went out and didn't leave. Why is there no one when I turned back?" Oh, Luli, you are cheating again, right? It's a pity that my father is not here. Luli said stiffly behind him. I'm afraid your unreasonable wish can't be realized. Master is not here, so I can ask my senior brother to come and be a witness. Luoyan's mind turned very quickly and he said immediately. What witness? Luli hurriedly grabbed his arm. How can my senior brother decide my marriage? Even if I ask him to be a witness, I know that Luoyan wants to marry Luli, and all the senior brothers and sisters in Tian Workshop know. Ouch! Luoyan suddenly screamed, but it was Luli who rushed over and bit his lips to stop him from talking nonsense. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.